Oh, you should have heard the truths I was told before this. But anyway, this is your host with the most from coast to coast, giving up all the toast, giving you coolness, hotness, and everything you could possibly cosmically wantedness. It's Rockin' Larry Locken with Palladian Express Productions, Larry Locken One Channel, at Palladian Express Productions / YouTube. Long story. So here's the deal. It is New Year's Day. It is 2025 in Earth years on the Gregorian calendar. I have Angelique Dorsey with me. Angelique is wonderful. She's like my star sister. She's the only one that's one of my older sisters, but she's younger than me, if that makes sense. And we'll touch on some of that shit too. But anyway, sit back, relax, enjoy. Angelique was on with me one other time, but it was over on the Arcturian Crystal Blue Angels channel, which is Larry Locken 3 channel. I just love hearing my name, you know. But no, there's a reason why I did all that shit, but we'll get into that another time. So,
Oh
Angelique,
my gosh. Get
what
over
was that?
yourself, Larry.
I know, no, I know. Wow, I'm all this spit coming back at me. It's crazy.
Blah,
So,
blah, blah. It's
yeah,
okay.
girl, I'm so glad to have you on. So, we've got some stuff to talk about. I think some of the shit just come up when you thought you were live. Maybe the best part of the show is already taped, but we'll try to redo it. Angelique, how's
It,
it going? And I love that daughter of yours. It's really your mother. That's a great story.
well, I know it is. And, like I said, I would love to repeat it. And I will repeat it as the day is long because number one, you know, um, like I said, the only reason why I am who I am is because of my children. Okay. My children were gifts to me. They're blessings. And I was never supposed to have children. So, I'll tell you this much. I'm not going to go into it again because I've already talked about it. Okay. Even if it was not recorded, that's okay. Everything happens for a reason. But just know that, um, like I said, my daughter, she was given to me to help me through this journey. And if it wasn't for her, I would not be where I'm at today whatsoever. Any of my children, um, and what have you. So, with that said, um, I had to recalibrate myself because we wasn't live already, and I was already channeling, so
Okay. Here's the deal, though. So well, you take a second and do that. I'll just say that, yeah, I was not supposed to have children either. I'd been jumped one time when I was 14 by some older guys, three of them, and I lost track of how many times I got kicked in the groin, plus several other fights having that happen. And I had some issues down there, and the doctor thought maybe I wasn't going to be able to have kids. My sperm count was really low, but I ended up having two biological boys. And then my wife and I, that was another thing with the vasectomy. Back then in Oregon, it wasn't necessary, but you had to have your wife consent if you were under 30. They wanted to have that consent that, this was cool if you were married.
I understand
And,
that. I
yeah,
understand that,
so
and
I did. Yeah, but we
there
ended
was
up
no
in
reason for
adopting.
that. There was no reason for that, and I'm gonna tell you why, because,
Hmm.
you were never supposed to meant to have children anyway, but you were gifted as well as I was,
Yep.
with the whole seeding of humanity or what have you. Um, and I wanna go back into the 144,000, but I don't wanna get
Oh no, you're
whatever.
gonna get me off on that. You know what? You know how
I
I
don't
feel about
care.
this, bro. Go for it.
I don't care. Like I said, I'm gonna throw it down. You wanna throw it down or not?
Bring it,
You wanna
bring it.
throw it
Yeah,
down?
bring it, bring it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got served. Okay.
Word. Okay, so like I said, you know, when okay, so basically, when you're born, okay? And when you're born into the 3D, which is and basically, your soul is born into a baby and your soul makes a contract. Before you're even born, it's like, okay, I will have this amount of lessons. I will be born to this family. I will be born and I will do all this, blah, blah, blah. So your soul said, I'm going to have this family and do all this bullshit. Okay. But also they knew that you had to be born with like 20 extraterrestrials basically, because a DNA code had to be activated. Okay, so and that's the reason why we have twins and triplets and what have you. And hold on, basically we was just fucking dealt a big old hand that uh we didn't ask for, but they were like, okay, well, so we've run out of 144 DNA strands basically, so we have to pile on top of it, if that makes sense. So that means the souls had to volunteer. They had the 3 rounds of volunteers for your twin flame journeys and blah blah blah, whatever. But then you went through that whole section of they wasn't able to complete their journeys to activate the DNA codes. Are you with me so far? Hello? Are you with me? Are you there? Okay, well, regardless of the fact, I can't go on unless you're with me.
Hon, I'm with you. I just try not to interrupt. Yeah, I know that's
Okay.
sometimes an issue, but yeah, I'm cool.
Okay, sorry. I just felt like I went. You ever seen that thing that went? Okay, so that basically was a reset. Okay, that's what you call a reset. Okay, so pardon. All right, so remember I told you, I said there was so many messages within me. There was a Rolodex of everything. Okay, as soon as I was activated to my spirituality, they were like, "Okay, girl, there you go." And then I couldn't handle it. I mean, but I didn't need a short circuit at the time. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people went mental, because if they got the downloads of the Palladians' DNA structure, which is Akashic records, being downloaded into basically the Gaia structure, the Earth structure. But they needed to have somebody that could handle it, had to do the work, had to fucking ground, be a crystalline being. I can go on and on about that shit. But regardless of the fact, like I said, that goes all in hand. Like I said, I might go
Mhm.
here and there and everywhere, but I told you that um, basically, it's like I have a Rolodex. And if anybody know
Yeah.
what a Rolodex is, they'll go blow the dust out the Rolodex and go.
Yeah, they may not if they're under, I don't know, man. If they're under 25, they may not know what the hell one is. Yeah, man, I haven't seen one in a while.
Well, regardless, it doesn't matter how old they are, because like I was talking about, um, like I said, they had to start like stacking upon the 144, like you got 244, 344, and blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah, because the DNA strand got cut, or actually, if you want to get technical, it got ixnayed. And God was like, nope, nope, we got to pull the fucking seed out of Jacob. So that basically means that, like, basically humanity was, never meant to fail. And this is our third time. Actually, excuse me, we're way past the third time. We're just now living the reality of it, going into the next density, if you will. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
regardless, I told you I had a lot here. So,
No,
um,
keep going. We don't exist in time. The only thing I script here try to is the opening little monologue where I think I sound cool, But other than that, we're just existing in no time.
You're cool, you're cool, don't worry about it. You're cooler than a
Yeah,
fucking
generally.
you're cooler than a bomb pop on a ice cream truck on a, weekday evening
I'm cooler
for
than the other
$1.
side of the pillow. Yeah, I'm cooler than the other side of the pillow. No question. I'm cool. That root chakra is not very grounded, but it's right. It is with you present.
That
Yeah,
that
I
that
mean,
is my
you talk.
favorite that is my favorite saying, by the way.
Is it
Cooler than the other
cool?
side of the pillow, because I have
Oh yeah,
I
we are
have like
definitely
20
related.
pillows. I have like 20 pillows on my bed, and my son calls it my pillow palace.
I have to too because I have to put one between my legs to sleep, and then I need like three of the motherfuckers. So yeah, to sleep under my head.
I
But you
have
were
like
also,
7 of them.
yeah, isn't that strange though that you brought up, and we're going to go back and we're going to go all over the place, but you brought up your daughter being your parent, and I was just talking with a lady in England the other day, and she was telling me
Okay.
her son is her father in another
Mhm.
lifetime, and I've always felt that about my parents, that I was their parents and shit, and vice versa with my
Yes.
kids, kind
Yes,
of,
thank you
but
thank you for
mainly
bringing me
my
back
parents
to
were not
that.
supposed to. Yeah, they weren't supposed to
Thank
have kids, my parents, ever. I mean, they really weren't meant to be because they knew each other 2 weeks yet. They were married 3 years before I was born, and my
Yeah,
mom couldn't have any more children after me. She had tried to have. She almost had twins when she was younger, but her parents made her have a back alley abortion because it was a no-no
okay.
back then for a single
Yeah,
mother
and
to.
thank you for
Yeah,
bringing me back to that, because that's, like I
yeah.
said, I can get off on a tangent with
Mm-hmm.
branches of the DNA structure. But yes, when my daughter was gifted to me, like I said, I went through a very terrible childhood. So when I got pregnant with my daughter, I was like, "Pfft, okay," and I had her when I was 16. And immediately when I had my child, I knew immediately that she was a gift. It was put upon my soul to do whatever I needed to do to make sure that she had a different life than what I had. And from her to my son now, that's all I've done. Is I know I've made mistakes and whatever, but I know each one of my children were, and my children are 4 years apart. That's how I know each one was born in a leap year. And I've and two of my kids are by master number 33. So don't tell me that I'm not.
Well, also, you could also say this too. They were also born on well, no, I was going to say on a presidential election year, but that changes. I was going to come up with some witty response that they were also part of, or the
96,
Olympic.
2000, and 2004.
Guess what? All Olympic and presidential election years, 96, 2000. Yeah, Clinton, Bush should have been Gore in 2000, but we won't get into that. But you know what I
And
mean? So
get
they've got
this,
those.
Jimmy Carter was president when I was born, and he just passed
Mhm.
away. So I
Yeah, I did
found
a
that
big
very
tribute.
significant.
I thought you got that thing I sent you. I did a tribute to him. I did a montage with a song. He was our disco president, man. The man, he was too good of a
Yes,
man to be president. They beat him down. They had his ass in a sling, and that man was beautiful. He spent
show
his whole
enough.
life building houses for people.
He sure did. He sure did. There you go. And I was like, when I found out about it, because I don't watch the news or anything. I just happened to see it on a scroll thing that I was doing online. But I was like, it really hit me hard because I'll tell you why. It was like the only
Me
reason
too.
why it hit me hard is because not that I knew Jimmy Carter like personally or anything, or knew that what his
Met him.
presidential whatever, but it was because the first time that I sucked up helium, I said, "When I was born, Jimmy Carter was president."
Well, let's really test your knowledge. And yeah, if we're going to throw Angelique for a loop, honey, before you go there, who was president in 75 then when I was born? It wasn't him.
Nigga, oh, shut up. Hold on. I have no idea.
Well, I'll tell you
I
this.
have
He
no.
was the only man not elected president because he pardoned that son of a bitch
Reagan?
Nixon. No,
Oh,
Gerald
Nixon.
Ford. Yeah, Reagan
What?
should have got the nomination in
See, you know
76.
what?
It went to
I don't even want to talk about Ford because he was between Nixon, he was between Watergate and all
yeah,
that bullshit. So he was like one of them invisible presidents. He was one of those ones that like,
yeah.
okay, we got to cover up what we did, so we had to like
Yeah,
put
he
in
was
one
a
of
go
those like
along.
ha
Yeah,
ha
yeah.
presidents. Hmm?
Yeah,
I don't
he
even
was
want
a
to talk
go
about
along
that.
to get along. I met the man once. He's
Hmm.
just a go along to get along kind of guy. That's what he was.
You
He
know,
got
and
what he
I'm
needed to get me back.
And you know what? I don't give a fuck what anybody motherfucking says. Pardon my French.
Yeah,
But
go for it.
Jimmy Carter is the only one, and I promise you, the only one that has
Mhm.
ever outlasted any of the Illuminati, the
Yep.
underworlds, the
Oh yeah, he's
Frenchmen,
a
the
Pleiadian.
the hoo-hoos and the ha-has. Okay, because he was one that was like protected of the highest accord. He was
You
like
bet your ass he was. He
I
saw
know.
UFOs.
Why do you think he lasted this whole time from 79 till now? He was like that one thing that was like that one thing like the Jenga peg. Okay. I'm like he would
Yeah,
not give in. They wouldn't let him give in. He refused to give in. Okay. And he was like right between the era between Watergate and Pizzagate.
yeah, right. Reagan gate. Yeah, yeah, Iran Contra. Yeah, I do not recall. I do not recall. I do not recall. Yeah, you dumb ass,
Yeah.
you too.
You know, he was protected of the highest accord, and I knew this my whole life. And the only reason why I knew that Jimmy Carter was president when I was born because of some fact, because I'm a smart ass, intelligent,
Yeah,
very much so.
Starseeds
And
have
I just
no
read it.
idea how much they owe to Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was a great man. He saw
Yes, he
UFOs.
was.
He
Mm-hmm.
contacted the Pleiadians. He was a great man, and he just
Yes.
was too good on Earth for that job. He outlasted those motherfuckers. He spent his days building houses, not just saying he
Do
was,
you
but
do
building
you think
houses
it
for
do
people.
you think I don't think it ironic, but do you think it ironic that he passed away on the day that Trump is
Thought of it,
about
yeah,
to be pronounced
very,
president for his second
very,
term? I think that's so knowing.
very. Yeah. Oh, I thought about it too. I'm like, man, how apropos. Yeah.
I
Well, I
was
thought
like,
about it too.
Lord Jesus, what the fuck is going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. We'll get done with the politics, star people. Yes, but Jimmy Carter, you owe a great deal of appreciation to. He was maybe the
Mhm.
one guy that ever was in that office that wasn't
He
bought and
made
paid
it. He
for.
made it through. They didn't have.
Yeah.
They didn't have to. They tried to kill him off, but that was secret. But they
Oh, they did
couldn't
it. They got
because
him out of there though. They had Reagan win. They pulled some shit with Iran, and Iran
he
kept
is
some of
what
her hostages. And yeah, it
he
was
is
a
what you
joke.
He is what you call, like I said earlier, like the Jenga peg. Okay, he was like the Jenga peg between that part of the government and this part of the government. Okay,
Yep.
because the last time that, excuse me, I'm gonna throw some astrology in here. Um, Pluto was in retrograde, and they went through the whole thing was 1787, which was when the Constitution came in. Okay. And now here we are many, many moons later, and the Pluto is now going, okay, everything's coming back together. Okay. And there was a
Right.
change then and a change now. So here you go. And this is what I'm saying. I don't give a fuck what anybody says about Trump. And I'm not going to get in politics, but this is meant
Um,
to happen. And I know you see what everybody sees everything on fucking TV, and I'm not going to go into that right now.
oh
But
God, it's terrible. They're
just
on
know
another
if
planet.
people keep an open mind and they just understand that everything happens for a reason,
Yeah,
and it
I
doesn't matter
know.
because, even on the TV, even what they see, people are going to get activated. There's going to be a
Hmm.
sitch, or there's going to be a, what do you call it? Dot, 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 dot. I don't know because I don't watch television. I just know that it doesn't matter. I mean, people watch, even his inauguration's going to send a, what do you call it? A what, dot, dot, dot to people.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I
A
can accept
vibration.
that, and if I can accept that, anybody can, because I really don't like the man. It's not so much
Yes.
him;
Hold on.
it's the
I
party,
know,
the
right?
people.
Come inside.
Yeah.
Hold on. Pardon. Yes, child.
If, however, if
Hold
listen,
on.
I got to
Pardon me.
say
Hold on
this.
1 second. Please. Huh?
Yeah,
Nigga, wait. Yes, you may.
yeah. Trump would be great, a
Pardon. That's
great
my child.
comedian. Yeah, yeah.
Nothing. I don't have.
Mute your mic.
No. Is that all you need?
Can't mute right now.
No, child. Mama loves you. Bye bye. Pardon me. It's my child.
Yeah, I
This is
get
my
it's cool.
youngest.
It's
We
cool.
were just talking about.
Yeah,
That's all you
yeah.
get, nigga. All right. Love you. Oh, hey, by the way, make sure you bring Zappy in. I mean, Nikita. How much the reason why I said Zappy, by the way.
Yeah, my Pleiadian dog.
Yes, yes. Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah,
tell you what happened. Okay, this is what took so long. Okay, so um my dog looks exactly like Zappy, by the way. so so
yeah.
I was gonna have you meet Nikita. Her name's Nikita. And
Awesome.
she's my son's dog, and I was gonna have you meet her, and I was gonna bring her in the house, but as soon as I left our leash, she went pew and went off.
Well, that'll be cool. Zappy is a wolf dog. I also have Blue Dog. That's another one I channel is Blue Dog,
That
but
is
they're
what
friends. But
Nikita is. Nikita
that,
is
but
a,
yeah,
yeah, she's an Alaskan Husky wolf dog. I mean, she's beautiful. And when I seen what you did, I was like, "Oh my god, that's Nikita." And she's quiet as a bear or whatever. But if somebody comes up or whatever, she will growl. We know
yeah.
exactly. She's a very good guard dog.
Well, that's good because
And
Zappy is too.
yeah, so
You
I
won't
was like, I told my son, I was like, "Go let Zappy."
if you're of a dark vibration and you try to pet Zappy with all those lightning rods running through him, you're not going to be very happy, and you might be taking a nap
Right.
before longer than you wanted
Mhm.
to. Yes, but if
Yeah.
you're loving, he loves you.
Even if
But
I couldn't,
Zappy,
even if I couldn't tell myself if somebody was like, of the dark, Nikita sure would let anybody, know. Anyway, so back to what we were talking about. Okay. Basically, yeah, we're gonna go past that, but yeah, my children are my children. But like I said, they're my ancestors as well, and they're basically, any of your children that you have are your ancestors. So no, she's not. I did. I
this
told.
reminds me of the time I had Raquel on and her
Pardon.
son was smoking weed in the background.
Hold on. No, I tried to let her inside and she went boom. She didn't even
Yes,
look
that's
twice at
yes,
me,
that's
son. She'll be back. She'll be back. I promise you.
Tell him not to be shy. Come on. Hey,
So
let's
what?
come on
Pardon
camera,
me?
bro.
You don't care.
Yeah, tell
Hey,
him to come on
this
there
is what
then.
you call life happening, okay?
Yeah, this is life, man. Yeah. Yeah, tell him to come on the air. Hey, bro, come on, dude. Yeah, the more the merrier. Say
Hunter!
hi.
Bubba!
Yeah, come on. We want to see you. Say hi, bro.
Hunter!
He ain't having it,
Yeah,
man. It's like
yeah,
trying to
he
get my
will.
daughter on air.
Well, the thing about it is like, I'm gonna tell you this much. My son's going through his spiritual journey, and shh, don't tell anybody I said that. But and it's very difficult. I'm not going to go into details, but, my son was born spiritual. I mean, like I said, he was literally, and I mean, yes, all three of my children were gifts and blessings, but Hunter, he was the biggest one. I was never supposed to have children after my second one because I had cervical cancer, and the doctor's like, you will never have children again. So I was like, okay, cool. And then guess what? 4 years later,
Yeah,
and
it happened.
that goes back into the whole fucking thing I was talking about with the DNA structures of having um lines, born into the 3D, or the whatever, you had to get uh, like I said, they started losing strands a long time ago,
Oh
because
yeah.
people, yeah, they stopped fucking healing themselves, or they just gave up pretty
Hmm.
much, so
Quit spreading the light. Yep.
yeah, so they literally had to like go, they had to pull the seed of Jacob, go suck it
Good
out and
way to
go,
put it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
No, that's a
so,
good way. Yeah. Yeah. It was
mhm.
just unhooked.
Yeah, and that also goes back into the whole aspect of, everything happens for a reason, and everything's divinely orchestrated, and what have you. And, it depends on, what your DNA code is. Because number one, we're all um, from source, if you will, especially if you have O blood. Okay, there you go. I mean, right then and there,
Hmm.
that's already a given. But even that population is very low. And if you're O, just O with no negative or positive, that's even lower. And I'm one of those.
And I am
So,
too. I am too. By the way, I am too. And I just keep forgetting which one, if it's negative or positive. But I am too. Yep.
well, if
And
you
I've
don't
been
have
asked
any
to broach this
RH, then if
subject,
you're
but
just O with no negative RH, then you're cooler. You're cool. But basically, and that's what I'm saying is, like, now in hindsight, I know that, the reason why my son was given to me, because I was never supposed to have any more children. I literally was like, the doctor, because I found out I had cervical cancer. Um, it was dysplasia at the time, but it turned into, I had a partial hysterectomy after Emily was born. That's my middle child. She'll be 25 this year. And, um, but the doctor was like, "You'll never be able to have any more children." I'm like, "Cool." So I prepared my life without any more children after, my daughter. And then, I left my husband, and as soon, I didn't even date very many people. I dated 2 people, and the, 3rd person that I dated, which happened to be Hunter's dad, boom.
oh, girl, girl,
As
girl.
soon as I told him I couldn't get pregnant, oh my god, he
It
got
was
pregnant.
on like
Actually, as a matter of
Donkey
fact, I got,
Kong.
huh? Pardon?
Oh, hold on. I was
Anyway,
on. No, no, no. Anyway, real quick. Yeah. Finish that off. But I was wondering when Hunter was born, because my middle child, my son, youngest son, is born. He will be 25 this year on March 19th.
yes, okay, so my children are, like, my oldest child is, September 4th, 1996. My middle child's April 17th, 2000, and then Hunter is May 13th, 2004. And I'm not scared to say anything about my children's birthdays. I'm not
No,
scared to
me
say
neither.
anything about my babies, because, like I said, it's time to be revealed, or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't even
absolutely.
know how to put it out there. Like
Oh,
I
I
said,
do.
we've been, you know what I'm saying? It's like, some people are like,
Oh,
"Oh,
do
don't put all your information out there," or whatever.
No
I'm like,
bullshit.
"Why not?"
The time is not. The time is past for that. It's time. I was telling Starseed
Word.
this 12 years ago, and I would get him on here. Your story is
Mhm.
important as anybody's. David Icke's, David
I know.
Wilcox, any of these other motherfuckers. Your story
I
is
know.
important. Somebody will resonate with it. You're right about that, though. The time has come and gone to be scared of
Yes,
coming
you're
on here
right.
and just typing
There you
shit, because
go. That
you owe
that
that
was
one
my
thing.
that was my whole point of what I was telling you. I was like, I've had all these downloads and everything, and all these messages, but I knew I just couldn't go and tell any Tom, Dick, or Harry about them. Okay,
Yeah, now you're
even
down to Larry,
I'm
though.
I I'm a very intelligent person, and I mean, I'm the smartest, dumbest girl, but I
Mhm.
know when I know,
If you
and
know
like
what I
I said,
mean. Yeah.
yeah, and like I said, it's like, I knew the time would come when the information needed to be out there, or when it needed to be given, or when people were prepared for it. Um, And like I said, I had this all within me, but it was all because, it had to be cultivated. It had to be refined. It had to be polished. It had to be, um, uh, given in a way that number one, niggas could understand around here. Pardon me. I can't help it. I say that in the most highest regard. I told you that. But,
Yes, yes,
it
yes.
had to be given in a way
Your
that
opinion.
the
Yes.
vibration would resonate to
Right,
activate
right.
that DNA code. You know what? I've been trying to pardon. If I went to a church here and I said the word nigga, the Holy Spirit would just come. I guarantee you. Just because of the way it resonates the vibration. See, that's what I mean. Pardon. They won't let me speak at any church around here because they
What makes
already
you want
know.
me to come in? I try to do it like this. I try to let the guests just flow, but some people will think they'll wonder why I'm not saying anything, but because I have no shortage of shit to say when we're talking in private, but because I want to accentuate the guest. Yeah. So if believe me, this is what I do. I'm listening to every word you're saying. If I don't come
Well, then
back at
shut
you,
up.
I
Well,
know.
then
Now I
shut
need you to shut the fuck up and go there. Yeah. Larry, shut your fucking. The Palladians are even telling me right now. Just shut up,
I
dude.
love it. I love it how you speak your mind. There's nothing wrong with that, and I get that because you've always been the center of attention, the center of the stage, the hi, look at me, and there's nothing
Yeah, but
wrong with that. You've been probably the Zoltar, the doctor, the
and the lonely one alone at the end of the day. Yeah, yeah, totally. You're right.
mhm,
I'm an
word.
only child. Yep.
Word. I'm not the only child, but I understand that aspect, and that's one of the reasons why on my healing journey that I've been on, is like, because, and I'll say this, the highest accord, a self love journey is the loneliest journey. I don't want to call it the hero's journey or anything else. It's going through every aspect of healing and healing yourself and then giving it to others. But when you give it to others and don't give it to yourself, then it's a different aspect. So when you start reversing it and you heal yourself and then give it to others, then it starts going in a higher thing. And that's pretty much, when I realized gosh, I don't even want to put no names or titles or anything on what I am because I'm a lot of things. I'm not just one thing.
Do you mean you
I
have
don't
mixed
ever,
star DNA?
huh?
Do you mean because this leads to something? Do you mean to tell me that you have mixed star DNA? So like you're not claiming just one of those star races. You got a
Oh, I
bunch of them.
can't. There's no way I can. There's
You
no
got a
way I
bunch.
can.
So
That's one of the reasons why I can't say just I know for a fact, and my
uh-huh,
knowing and everything, I know Palladians because
right.
because Akashic Records, I am a Akashic Record being. I have them like do 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 do. Hello, what you need to know. You got access to these, then you may have them. If not, then bye.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of DNA. That's a lot of structure. That's a lot of data.
No, it really is a lot of data. But this
Mhm.
leads me to something I mentioned the other night, though.
Yes.
I wondered if you think this would be a good advice. So, like, I know that we talk about the Pleiadians, Syrians, Arcturians, Lyrans, all those guys, right? But
Mhm.
Orion, but why don't we? I was looking at my Google Sky Map, Angelique, and there's plenty of other star systems out there. I was looking at one called Constellation Star System, planets, whatever the fuck, right? They're all the same. And
Yes.
I was looking at NGC 3587L258, and why doesn't
Oh, all
anybody
the
ever claim
numbers,
to be
yeah.
from? Yeah, why doesn't anybody ever claim to be from there? You
Okay,
know,
well,
I,
that's one of the reasons why
it,
they give them numbers and whatever, because,
No, but I mean, they
number
have other
1,
names too, like Archimer. There's Archimer. Nobody's channeling Archimer. Nobody's channeling Canopus is a big one. Nobody's channeling
they are
Canopus that
really,
I
but
know of.
they're just giving them numbers. They don't know the
All
names of
right.
them.
Oh,
Okay?
well,
They're
okay.
just given they're actually Palladians and Arcturians and Greys and whatever. They're just like, if you will,
But
dare
it
I say,
sounds,
sisters and what have you. I mean, I don't even wanna go there because, like I said,
but
I can
honey, it
go into
sounds cooler.
depth. I
But
can
you
go
know
into
that it's, yeah, but what I don't get is this from a like pop culture standpoint. Wouldn't it sound cooler instead of saying you're a Syrian or an Arcturian or a Pleiadian to say that you're from NG52817654321K2? Or no?
kind of, But that's just basically, it's still, if you look at the numbers and it still translates to the same thing. If you want to knock it down, if you want to get into numerology and shit.
So
But,
we're really just playing an Earth game right now. We're just playing an Earth game, cutesy game with that.
okay, well, understandable. But like I said, if you want to look at your numbers and your names and everything else, cool. Okay, that's just us objectifying or expressing what we have known or felt. Okay. And, like I said, nobody would have known the Arcturian names or the Pleiadians or this, that, and the other thing unless they had it within themselves and was
Yeah,
able to
exactly,
present that information
exactly.
for somebody to put that
Yeah,
aspect on them.
yeah, and it
That's the
goes
only
right
reason
down
why.
that way because honey, you can sit and think like you'll say, okay, those names, and then you think, well, God, why do we call them that? How do we know that that's
Yeah,
even what they're called? But like
it's
you
the
said,
same
through
thing.
consciousness,
The
yeah.
numbers and everything else you see is just translated into Palladians or Arcturians
Well,
or
sure,
Greys
they
or
have a number
Orions or
too.
Draconians or
Yeah.
Lyrians or blah blah blah. It's the
Well, for
same
the record,
difference.
the Pleiadians, for the record, are the M45 star cluster. But yeah, exactly.
Hey Ashtar, lovey, I love you.
No, oh, fuck him. He's my uncle. Yeah. Well, let's another time.
Pardon. Pardon me.
It's cool, but it's personal with me and that prick, But I love him too, but I hate him
Word.
at the same
I
time. Yeah.
understand that, but I felt that vibration and I'm not particularly close to that person. Okay? But don't think that, like I said, I have a lot of shit within me. That word, not shit, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, you remember what we were talking about, and you said you knew those
Yes.
fools. You said another word, but I'm not. Let's not out who they are. But you know Medi and Mikey and Orb and the Blue Rider, who they are now. You knew those fools back in the neighborhood,
Um, like I
or
said,
did
when
you?
I listened to the first part of it and everything else, it was so resonated because, like I said, um, as within, so without, as above, so below. Okay, so don't think that I have not gone through a million and one scenarios of everything. Okay, in the
Right.
3D, the best way that it can be presented. So, um, and this is how I went through my spiritual journey. So you explaining it on a different level than from when I went, that's why it resonated with me. Because regardless of me being in
Feelings mutual, honey.
a ward, okay, so like I said, I live on the end of town. I live in a small town and I live on the end of town. I'm the shaman at the end of the town. In a town full of, I think we have at this point, I think we have like 5,000 people now, maybe a little bit more. Who cares? But it's Osage City, and I'm not scared to say where I live. But I'm gonna take that O off of there, and it's gonna be Sage City.
That could happen. That could honestly happen. You may be
I know
joking,
it
but I
will.
know.
I know it will. I know it will. I'm not scared to say that. I don't care what anybody says. I've already been through too much shit. I've already been through blah blah blah, whatever. But I mean, yes. I mean, I'm not trying to,
No, as
be
long as there's
act
an
like I'm
existence
powerful or
here.
anything.
Yeah,
I
as
just
long
know
as
things.
listen to me, as long as there's an existence here, there will come a now moment where that is changed. I'm not even bullshit yet. Will become that.
I know. Why do you think I'm saying that even, Larry? It's only because, like I said, I've been through too much shit in my time. I've lived in this town for 20 years. I lived in Kansas for 20 years. I'm originally from Oklahoma.
Oh, good
Okay.
God, I'm so sorry. Got both notes, but go ahead.
No, I love you. I love being an Okie. I miss Tulsa, but whatever. Um, but regardless of the fact I've been here for 20 years and I've, and since in hindsight, I've raised 3 generations of children. As soon as I moved up here, I've raised all of them and I've healed. I've healed for 20 years in this town.
Yeah,
Okay. And I've touched here, there, and everywhere. And like I said, I ain't gonna go into details, because it is what it is. But
they
um
sent a tough girl to do the job, though.
it's
They sent,
more
yeah,
complicated than people understand. It's more complicated, there's people like, "I don't believe in that." Okay? But as I've touched each soul or I've said something to people, people look at me because I work in the drug community. I work with the people that have been lost and desolate and and just forgotten because, they do drugs. Whoop-de-doo all day, so do they.
No, yeah, I
Okay?
know.
They
Fuck
just
yeah,
haven't been
so do
healed
they.
from
Yeah,
their emotional upheaval from doing it. Okay.
Oh
And
my
I'm
God, everybody's
passionate
on
about
something
that.
in America.
And that's
Yeah.
where I decided to work with. That's where my soul led me because I grew up around that shit.
Well,
Okay.
older
And that's
starseeds
where
like us, yeah. Oh, older starseeds like us have never been around drugs.
where do you think most of our people are? Where do you think most of our people are? In the
Yeah,
drug community, the
the
ones that are
older ones like us.
lost.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Not so much the younger ones born in the 80s, 90s, although there are a fucking ton of
No,
them.
because
But
I'm gonna
but
tell you
the
right now.
true race, yeah, yeah, totally getting
I'm gonna
high.
tell you
Yeah,
right now, and I know this of the highest motherfucking accord. Okay, um, you know, when you do dope or whatever, it activates your nervous system and blah blah blah.
sure,
Okay, and then it puts you on high alert. Okay, well that was the
sure.
original thing that they did back in the day. Let me start with Hitler. Okay, they made methamphetamine
And
to make the
LSD, he
perfect
created
a
LSD.
soldier and
Yep,
army.
yep,
Listen, pardon,
yep.
but listen. Okay, but like I said. That's why they came up with methamphetamine back in the day, in Hitler's day. Okay. That was like extreme, extreme. Okay. But it's just been dumbed down since then. And that's the whole reason why the government motherfucking came up with it was to create a nation to downfall so they can fucking live off of it, create blah, 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 this and blah, 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 that. And then let's make people just desolate and then and ingrain that in their DNA to cover
Yep.
up the DNA to, uh, make them not remember who they are.
Oh God, he was a mastermind of that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get up on a rant, but I've talked about that
That's
many
it
times. The
started with
LSD,
him
the
knowingly.
LSD and the meth
Yes,
that
it
he
started with
created,
him.
yeah, 30
Yes,
years
it
before
started
we
with
had
him
it.
knowingly. Yeah, and then that's what I'm
Oh
saying. I was
yeah,
like, nowadays, it's like, wait a minute, you want to talk about somebody being motherfucking on methamphetamine, but what about you? Do you take your caffeine? Do you take your pills every day? Do you smoke marijuana? Do you drink?
yeah. Oh
But the
God, yes.
only thing, and
Yeah.
and and, and I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm an advocate for this, and I'm like, whatever. But the only reason why methamphetamine is so looked down upon is because of the structure that was built around it. The families that have been messed up around it, the kids, it was the same thing over and over and over, the same template, you know, uh, this, that, and the other thing. And I've seen it for 20 years here. And not only did I see it for 20 years here, but I've seen it when I grew up. Okay. Beyond. I mean, I was a statistic, but I refused to be one of those. Okay. Because I seen the difference. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Because it's a medicine. It doesn't matter what you say, who you are, what you do. I don't give a fuck. Pardon my French. But that's what I'm saying right now for anybody to hear. Methamphetamine is a medicine as well because we poor. There's people that
Real talk, fuckers. Real talk, right here. You're not
real
going to get this.
talk.
Is real talk, real
That's
talk.
what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. We're poor people. Okay, we can't afford, especially ADHD people. People with high gifts. Okay, they're
Yep.
like, oh, you on drugs. Even people that ain't on drugs, they're like, oh, you on drugs? Why? Because I'm high
These
active.
people are using it.
My senses are on high
Yeah,
alert. That my crown chakra's open and my gifts are on, and I have
yeah,
nobody
yeah.
here to calm me
And
down and teach me how to
yep, yep.
meditate. I don't
Real
have
talk, real
anybody
talk,
here to help me heal.
real
Excuse
talk.
me, but yet when I go to the white coats, when I
Yeah,
go up there and they're like, "Oh, here, take this bottle of Adderall, which is $300 and you can't afford it."
yeah. Fuck, it's gross. Yeah,
Dare
it's
I go on?
well, the
Dare
thing
I
about
go
it is,
on?
though, well, the only thing I'll add to that is, goddamn, you just spoke from my soul, and people don't want to hear that. But when you're talking about those people saying that, but Angelique, here's the truth: some of them are on the shit too. I mean,
Word.
dude, I got buddies that are teachers still that are fucking coaching football.
Here's my deal.
Dude, I'm
I don't give
out
a
on the
fuck what
goddamn.
anybody says.
You can
Let
go
me
get
tell you
$20
something.
by the dope a
Let me
day.
tell you something, Mr. Larry. Do not judge lest ye be judged. Okay.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing that, and this is those times where the paradigms are switching like boom, boom, boom. Okay. People, they have the Christian cult, I call it. And I grew up religious. I grew up Pentecostal. I
I'm
still say,
sorry.
thank you, Jesus, Father God. I still pray and blah, blah, blah. I believe in all that still. But I
Right.
know better now. I know better. I
Right.
know the difference. That's the biggest,
Yes.
hugest thing. I know the
I
difference now
appreciate it.
between religion and spirituality. That's the biggest
Appreciate
deal. Okay. And then like I
it.
said, God, thank you, Father God. Um, they gave me the best of both worlds, and I am so
Yep.
grateful and what have you for that. Because
Oh
here
God,
you
if we
go.
could all get that,
Here's
if
the
we could all get
motherfucking
that, we could
information.
spend
Are
money.
y'all ready? Are y'all ready for this?
Hit it.
Because I ain't scared. They can't no
Hit it.
longer hide it because number one, it's like the government coming up and biting each other on their ass, and it's like people are, and I don't. No, I'm not gonna say that. I was gonna give you an example, but I don't even
Say
want
it.
to talk about it. But regardless, it
Say
was
money.
stupid and it was retarded and it was something that I'm so it's not what I worked for to raise my children and heal myself and make sure my children had a different life than I did. And to have it circle around and be looked at me like I was the one that didn't heal. Oh hell no, bitches. Y'all better recognize. Hell no. That's my
Oh my
point.
God! Wow, you're letting it
This
all
is
out
what
tonight.
this is why I'm coming out with all this now because like I said, I didn't do all this healing within myself. I didn't go through all this fucking bullshit of healing my heart and bandaging it and stapling it and whatever by myself with nobody to help me, with no help. Me, myself, and I. Excuse me, three.
Me,
Pardon. Three people
Dave
help me.
Tolia,
Me, myself, and I.
myself,
That's the
and
only
I.
people that helped me go through all this bullshit with me.
Right, exactly.
And not
You
only did I
the
have to go through it, I had to go with it, my ancestors. I had to go through it with the ones that couldn't go through it before. I was DNA coded for this. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Here I am. Hi.
This is funny. I got to say this. You were talking about, you yourself and you. Look, I had a buddy of mine one time come out of the bathroom, and he said to me, he said he was on LSD, and he was using some speed too, some meth, and he said, you know what? I was looking in the mirror, and there's not just two of me, there's three. I was looking at myself, and I saw a person like me to the side, then to the other side, and I was just thinking that we all come together to make this one soul, and I
Word.
just dude, this dude was not the most enlightened person. I'm just like, oh wow, dude, that's cool. But this was in 19 fucking 90, for Christ's sake. I was like,
Don't even
oh
get
yeah,
me started on the
yeah,
LSD structure,
yeah. You mean
okay?
my buddy Dave, who I've done shows with, Dave Heiner, not David Starr there, but he's like, it's
Mhm.
recreational
I
LSD.
remember you
Another guy of
mentioning
mine,
him,
Mr.
yeah.
X, who I've done shows with, he's like, dude, he said
Word.
this at 14 when we were tripping. He's like, you know what? All my emotions in my body, as sad as I've ever been in my life, as happy as I've ever been, everything's going off at once and not just it's simultaneous. And he was right. That's
let
kind of
me
like what peaking
let me
on this
tell you
shit is.
something, and I'm gonna tell
Yeah.
you this straight up into
Haven't done
this
it in 30
motherfucking
years,
order.
though.
Word. And I'm gonna tell you this straight up in this motherfucking order. I got a lot of DNA downloads secondary from I told you my a good friend of mine passed on Christmas Day, as a matter of fact. Um and I'm gonna show you what I made him. He used to work at Gumby's Pizza
That's the guy
and
we contacted from the other side. Remember, we had that
yes.
talk with him.
Oh yeah, he's always hanging out. You know what? Like I said, anybody that's ever been with me or knows me on this plane, they're all like lining up. They're like, we know where we're going. They
No, and
always
listen,
vibrate back there.
and listen, this is how
They
amazing it was.
vibrate
I
back to the
talked it.
last place they were loved. They
Yeah.
vibrate back to the last place they were loved. That's all there is to that.
And
And
this is
they
what was
know better.
amazing about talking to him. What was amazing was, okay, I've talked to extraterrestrials face to face before, but that was the first time, like, I talked to some guy who's just passed on to the ether like 2 fucking days
Oh God.
before. And he
Mhm.
was bullshitting with me about Angelique. It was crazy shit. And she's like, yep, that resonates. Yep, that's him. That's him. That's him. It was crazy.
Word. And here's the kicker though. When we had a soul contract, because I had and this has to do with my childhood. I wanted to do my own childhood regression. I didn't want nobody else to do it but me. Ain't nobody could have done it but me because of how I went through it. So we had a soul contract so I could go through what I needed to go through to settle a lot of aspects from then, and I had to go through that ordeal straight up uh, before I could heal from it, if that makes sense. Um, and I don't want to go into details about it right now because people still judge. And like I said, this is
I
for
hear
me,
you.
myself, and I. But regardless, Paul knows what he did. Even though he was a grifter and a miser and an asshole and a selfish son of a bitch, you
Right.
know, but he still cared and he still had a heart. And he had to learn the art of unconditional love and he knows. That nigga knows I served it on a silver platter. He never fucking, like I said, word. And I know in hindsight, I know that all of this is divinely orchestrated and that he knew what he was doing,
Yeah, I'm
regardless
wondering
of the fact. Hmm.
his soul. So you saw his soul was good. Now this will be the telltale sign. Would dogs love him? Like him at least? Even
Oh God, no. No, no,
they didn't like
no.
him.
No, I mean, they did in somewhat, but like I said, like I said, but pardon me, Paul's vessel, okay, and I'm not talking about his soul, I'm talking about his vessel that he had. It was so worn through, that it had, like I said,
That's why.
it was like he had to like go it out and be like, I guess I can put this back on.
Okay, that's why they didn't care for him then, because typically in that situation, it wouldn't matter what he did; they would see that his soul was a good guy. Because I've had
Yes.
my dogs would do that. You could be somebody who's been in trouble with the law your whole life, and just because of
Oh, God.
circumstances, but yeah, and the dog will love you. But you could be somebody well-to-do in the community, and but you're kind of a shady person behind the scenes. Do they see right through that shit?
He was, and here's the kicker, he was a terrible person his whole life. Okay, he did not do well. He was the baby, and he was picked on by his older brothers. He was the oldest or the youngest of three, and like I said, he just had one of those lives, and he was born in the '60s. So, and then he was also fed LSD unbeknownst to him.
Oh
So, and
God,
not
that would
only
be
that,
scary.
yeah, he was one of those that back in the day when they gave LSD
When
without
the
people
shit was
knowing.
good too, yeah. When the shit would fuck you, make you
That's why
trip
people
like a
got addicted to
motherfucker.
it,
Yeah.
even though people didn't know about it. When they gave it to
Yeah.
you unbeknownst, that's why they gravitated towards it, is
Oh
because of that
fuck
reason.
yeah.
Anyway, like I said, long story short, um, not only did that, but he also did it himself, and he just went through this thing. So he was like stuck in this whole hippie type of situation and blah blah blah. I don't want to go into details of it, but
I get it.
regardless, yeah,
Yeah. He did. Yeah.
regardless, it doesn't matter. Like I said, your consciousness is your consciousness, and LSD, acid, and DMT, ayahuasca, that all puts us in a different side of our knowings. Okay, and
Yeah, one of
like I
them's just
said,
a little more right, right. One of them's just a little more risky to take because it's not a plant. But
well,
yes,
like I said, regardless of the fact, when you're given something without your consent, okay, it totally ixnays the whole purpose of it. So when you
oh
take it with
fuck
your
yeah,
consent, then it goes,
especially that.
yeah. So I mean,
If you
I
were
don't
gonna
care
have
who
to be,
you are.
yeah. But if you were gonna listen, if you were gonna have to be fed one motherfucking thing by surprise, that would be the last motherfucking thing you'd want because it lasts and it lasts and
There
it
you
lasts.
go. There you go. Okay. And like I said, when you're given something against it's free will. Okay. There's the one biggest thing that ain't nobody can knock on the earth plane is your free will. They can uh, they can do divine intervention, divine timing, whatever. But the free will, they cannot go up against your free will. They cannot. That's where they start fucking up.
Yeah,
Not
but
only
I
do they
cried
fuck
through
up
his
with
soul.
that,
That's fucked.
pardon. Not
That's
only
the
do they
last
fuck
drug
up
you
with
give somebody.
right. Okay. So exactly. Think about the COVID. Okay. People were forced to get the shot and they had to, even if they didn't want to. That
Oh,
was their
I know.
big
My wife was
motherfucking
like, yeah,
mistake. Going against people's free will.
right.
Oopsie. Na 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 na. You cannot put that bullshit in there and
That
say,
ties
"Oh,
it together. Yeah,
it's yeah, okay." No,
because
if you went
I'm a
against
pro
people's
medicine
free
guy. But
will,
yeah, yeah,
people were forced to get the shot
yeah.
and they didn't want to. Okay, think about that.
I think you know what they fucked themselves. I think more people would have got it if they said, "Hey, it's optional, whatever. We no judgment. It's here if you want it." You know what? If they really would have been smart and wanted to,
It was a free excuse me, it was a free will choice, but if you worked somewhere or you had grandparents or elderly
that's what I
people
meant. Yeah,
or whatever, that went against your free will.
yeah.
That's what I'm
But
talking about.
if right, but I'm saying too, if that stigma, that's what I meant. If that stigma wouldn't have been there, I bet you they would have had more people end up actually getting it in
Mm-mm,
some
I doubt it.
aspects. Because if
Put it
people
this
didn't
way, if
feel
you know, you
forced,
know. If you know,
yeah,
you know. You knew what
yeah,
it
that's
was.
true. But if it's out there and they're not saying it, okay, and you barely hear about it, you're like, well, man, I don't want to get, it's I'm talking about from psychological warfare. I'm putting myself in the enemy's shoes for a second.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
yes. Don't even get me started on that, whatever. But yeah, the reason why I'm gonna tell you this point blank. I'm going to tell you exactly what the COVID shot was meant for. Okay, so if you got the COVID shot, okay,
Which I did.
okay, so basically, there you go. It kind of already it puts
I
a
had to.
structure. It puts I call it a Jenga peg. Okay, but it puts a structure in the DNA code so you cannot replicate anymore. It's taking out the alien, not the alien DNA, but the ones that they try to uh, splice and whatever.
I must have been immune to it.
They were trying to cut off the DNA from the actual, the ones that were seeded here. Okay, that was the whole point of the Anunnakis and stuff like that. Okay, they try to cut off that because they knew that it was a competition. It was a
Well,
war
they knew
even
time was.
then.
They knew time was ticking, even though they don't exist in time. They knew that time was
Okay,
fucking ticking. They better make a move.
that's how humanoids came about, roughly.
Yeah,
Like I said, I'm getting off a tangent, but the
no, go.
COVID is what it did. It put a DNA structure where it doesn't matter. You will not be able to replicate anymore after a certain point.
It didn't work too good though. It didn't work on people already awakened. Is what's funny. You know what I mean? It
Well,
really didn't too much.
well, if you think about it, okay, and this is how I seen it was, it doesn't matter that we just had the shot now. Think about all the fucking shots we got as kids, the
Yeah,
measles, the mumps, and
so
blah,
some
blah,
of
blah.
them are necessary, but about 2/10 of them is it.
It was the same thing. All it was like I said, the COVID shot was just basically, it was like, okay, so if you were DNA coded as a replica or spliced, then that means you cannot make another branch on the tree.
What the
You're
Pleiadians are telling me right now, and I got to break through, is that you're pretty much 99% right. If it were up to them and they had been running the thing, you might have had like one for a measles, one for a polio, and it would have been done under care, and you know what I mean, created under very cautious conditions. But all this other bullshit would have not been around.
That's why they came up with all these things. They were full of metals. Okay, that's the shots that we got as kids and what have you. They
Right.
deliberately, like I said,
Yeah.
this was all orchestrated thing from the very beginning, from the time they spliced the human DNA
Yeah.
code and beyond, to stop Earth from ascending.
Well,
And
absolutely,
like I said,
man.
it was all a
TikTok,
big
TikTok.
galactic battle, and I don't even understand it. I don't get it,
It was a
but I
race
see
against
it.
the clock. That's why they made a move, but it kind of backfired. It allowed us to kind of regroup because I was under this thing. Oh man, we're at a lull right now. What the fuck's up? But it really, I talked to some Starseeds who were coming in around that time. They're like, we really feel like it was a chance for you guys to regroup because this movement was dead from about 17 to 20 for a while,
Mhm.
but it was just kind of a quieting, really. And I misread it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is
Well,
all.
that's what I'm saying. I was like, I told you I've had all this information. This is the first time this is coming out of me. Okay. And I've known it, but, like I said, ain't nobody was prepared for it, if you will. Um, and
Not in
the thing
Kansas,
about it is,
that.
though, I've sat on it and I've mulled over it and I've known this knowledge and what have you, and I've said it here and there, but not the full spectrum of it. Nobody knows the full spectrum of it until, like I
Yeah.
said, now, and now's the time because, I even, our first show that we did together, if you will, the first thing I read to you was a channel, and it doesn't have no name on it or anything else, but it says, prepare, you got 2.5 years to prepare for the coming of the new world leader. And I don't mean that like a
Uh,
president or whatever.
right. Okay, good. Yeah, because I got my thoughts on that, but go.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying is like yeah, Trump and Elon Musk. I think don't let me nah,
Let's not get off
don't
on
even
Leon's
start
scum.
with
Go
that.
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. No.
But you
Yeah.
gotta
Leon
remember,
don't need me. Leon don't
as
know,
within,
brother.
so without, as above, so below. So every this, there's a that. So if you're looking at, the television and you see Elon Musk and Trump doing their thing, well, there's on another side, there's something else going on.
No,
Okay,
absolutely.
it's just something that can't be recorded, or well, it can be recorded or whatever, but it's still a translation and lost in translation, but being picked up
Yeah.
and put together,
Yeah.
and then that's kind of how I've seen it is like, coming up and helping a hand up, you know, adhering the broken DNA structure of the spliced um, Word.
Helix, 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 helix. I think you're looking for the word
Thank
helix.
you. See, simple words. I'm like, "Ugh." My
Word.
son, he will instead of saying DNA, he will say the whole name of it. I don't even know. Blah, blah,
I
blah,
used to
blah.
be like that too. Him and I would get along good. I used to do that with all the words too.
I'm like,
LSD is
son,
lysergic acid, diethylamide, PCP was phenolic, gludine, marijuana
yeah,
is
he will go on. He
tetrahydrocannabinol.
will say
Yeah,
die, blah, blah, blah.
me too. My friends are laughing
I
if they
can't
hear
even
this.
pronounce it all the way through, but he can. I'm like, son, just say DNA.
Same thing they'd say to me. Yeah, do you mean deoxynucleic? Oh, fuck. Yeah, even I'm getting older.
He
Deoxynucleic
will
Yeah,
sit there. He will say the
I
whole
would do it
fucking
too, man.
name. He will say the
Oh
whole
God.
name, and I'm like, just say DNA, son. Just say DNA. But he
Yep,
won't.
yep. My
And it's
buddy
funny
would do
because I
that.
don't know acronyms all the way, but we'll fight over the DNA thing, which I think is kind of weird, but whatever.
Well, there's RNA too. You want to put him to test? Say, okay, son, I hear you. Why don't you tell me what RNA is, real quick? Come on, and he'll probably rattle it off to you. Ribonucleic. It's something else.
Yeah, my son's all my kids are very highly
I don't think
intelligent.
we've ever broached what RNA is.
Huh?
I'm trying to remember what. See, this is where I'm coming in slipping. Like RNA. I'm trying to
RNA,
remember what. Yeah, go for it. Do
your
you know what it is, sister?
okay, your RNA is your
I know, baby. No.
riboflavin. But it's like the opposite structure of your DNA. It's like the mirror of your DNA. It's like say for instance, you have your DNA here or your one gene here, and then there's another gene. It's like a mirror image. Okay, so as soon as like I said, when you heal one, the mirror turns and then activates the RNA. It's the different part of the DNA structure. It's the other part. It's like the blue part. The best way I can explain it. I mean, like I said,
Yeah.
I know alchemy and I'm an alchemist myself. Um, but I
Mm-hmm.
can't it's hard for me to describe something I see
So,
within myself and how they've described it in the physical. I'm like,
but
this is
teaching.
the
Yeah, we
best
all
way I
have.
can give it to you.
Also, I think most Starseeds from our era coming in, no matter what we are, we have that problem. I think I do
Yeah.
too. I mean, it would be crazy if I could articulate shit.
Yeah, I think
Like
that was
better.
one of my biggest deals, like
Yeah,
when I
but
had
these
all this
younger ones don't have a
information.
trouble with it. People like these
When I
two that wrote the book behind me, fuck, they know how to articulate it. It's rough. It's rough for us a little bit, but we know it. But we can't. It's hard for us to say without writing a book.
word and that's the biggest thing, is like this is what you call if you will the book of life being opened and like going shh, the seventh seal has been opened, niggas. Okay, so here we go. Is your name in the only reason why they say your name is not in the book of life is if you have not learned to love yourself, if you have not woke. Okay, that's what it means in the Bible when it says, your name will be erased from the book of life. That's only if you don't wake up to your true self.
The
That's
babble.
it.
Yep.
Okay, we're all about part of the book of life. There's no way your name can be erased from it. There's no
Oh
way you
yeah.
can be
Come
okay,
on.
you are a Akashic record regardless. You cannot erase nobody's motherfucking Akashic record.
Yeah, yeah. You never. Hey, you never existed, Angelique. It's just a figment of your imagination and mine and everybody else's. I know. Yeah. Right. I mean, come on. Fuck.
I see you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Hi. Yeah. I see you too. Yeah. You
But
know
that's my
what?
whole point. It's like
Yeah.
nobody can that's why I hated about I mean, I disliked about the Bible, though biblically, Bible means basic instructions before leaving earth. That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the original book of life. And it was basically the epistles and the what have yous of the original energies that were seeded from the seeds of the first energies of God. Word. And those are
Which
energies. Most of
which
the
is
the
us?
Bible
Which
is
is us?
physical
Yeah.
and spiritual and mental. Okay. If you don't know anything about the Bible, just know this. Okay. Some of it's physical, some of it's spiritual, and
Mhm.
some of it's mental. And if you don't go
Mhm.
through your own inner journey
Yeah.
work and knowing, you'll never
Yeah.
understand it.
Yeah. That
And it
book
was
is a
taught.
detriment. If you don't, let me tell you something. If you don't do what she just said, and you get into that shit, it's a detriment, man. That could be the most
Yeah.
dangerous thing.
The first thing my grandfather told me, my grandfather was a Pentecostal preacher. He was fire and brimstone. That's why I'm, the way I am right now. Um, it was because he told me, he said, don't read the book of Revelations until you're ready. And
Yeah,
of
plus it
course,
already happened. It's just a tool to
and
go
what
by.
did
The
I
Book
do?
of
I went and read
Revelations,
the
that's all
book
it
of
is. It happened.
Revelations, and I had no idea what
It's
it meant.
history.
Okay, no idea. I read it, and then I got it, but I did not understand it until I started my spiritual journey. And then let me tell you something. As I went through my spiritual journey, and this was like the coolest thing, and I'll have to say, was as I healed within myself, as I went through every this, that, and everything, that was my structure. That's
Yeah.
how I healed within myself, because
Mhm.
I started understanding the meaning of each one, the parables, the underlying,
Right.
um
The
the
hyperbole. Yeah.
secret word, because the Bible, also was, it's also was made in gematria. Okay, it was coded in gematria, because it doesn't matter if it was coded by men that fucked it up, okay, made it their
Yeah.
own. It doesn't matter if
Manipulated
you are one of the 144, if you are the chosen, if you are,
it.
uh, eyes wide open, eyes to see and ears to hear, all that blah, blah, blah good stuff,
Mhm.
then you understood it. That was the whole point of being
Yeah.
able to your DNA being
Well,
activated to your true structure of who you are. That's the earthly plane
yeah.
of being going, hi, I'm from dot 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 dot. Because if anybody
Right.
really got into the Bible, it says aliens. And actually, I pulled out. I have so many Bibles, and then I'm reading the Quran right now. But I
Yeah,
was
the
cleaning
Quran
and
would be the better way
organized.
to go. If you were going to
I
get into
love.
one of those shit from a true history standpoint, I'm not talking about fucking worshiping any fucking bullshit deity. I'm talking about from a history standpoint. The
Word.
Bible's great. The Bible's like ripped off technology from the angelic, but then twisted into their
Yes,
own way.
yes,
And it comes out all
yes.
fucked up, dude. In stories. It's anti-women. It's the most misogynistic book I've ever heard. A
I'll
woman
tell you
who
exactly
has any
what the
pride in herself,
Bible
listen to
is.
that shit, dude.
I'm
I'd
gonna tell
run
you
the other way.
exactly. Word, and I'm gonna tell you exactly what the Bible is. The Bible is epistles and, um, uh, you know, channelings, journals, from different people, because, you know, they wrote them down and blah blah blah, whatever, and then they had to give the next. It's the same as giving knowledge to the next person, whether it's in written form, DNA form, spiritual form, whatever. Okay, they had to give it to the next person that they could trust with it, especially in the physical form. Okay, so they took it, and that's how they wound up finding them in the Dead Sea Scrolls and what have you,
Yeah.
because it went so far as like, well, I don't have anybody else to entrust this message to, these messages to. So
Yeah,
they
exactly.
buried
Somebody's
them in
got
the
it already like
motherfucking.
that. Yeah.
They
Yep.
buried them in, like, okay, well, whoever finds them deserves
Hmm.
to have them. That's your mental. That's your whole aspect of the Dead Sea Scrolls. It was like, okay, well, it's encoded in the DNA, and it will be
Yeah.
activated when that person that does the work
Yeah.
and blah 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 is able to
Can handle it.
handle the information, because the download information of
And
this
either some and
information
Angelique,
is
right? And Angelique, right. You're right. And either that hasn't happened yet, or somebody's got them that's cool, and they're sitting on them for the right time. It's either one. You know what I mean?
we all listen here. We all have a portion of the pie, okay?
Yeah, we have it in our
Um,
brain.
yes, we do, okay? Some of us has more than others, but there's ones that, like I said, everybody has a piece of the pie, and it's just the act of them opening it up, and it's to their own structure, okay? Hence the reason why, I know that I was, gifted with a lot of information, because that I was DNA coded for it, and I get that, sure do. Pardon, but, like I said, there's stuff that couldn't be brought out until people were ready for it, or I was ready for it, or whatever. Okay. You just fill in the blanks. It doesn't matter, because I have talked so much. People get on to me. They're like, oh, you talk too much. I'm like, okay, cool. All right. I do it for a reason. If you look at my birth chart, all my planets or whatever in the 12th and 11th house, which is your unconscious. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
I walk the halls of a mente. I walk the halls and go, what's up, nigga? What you doing over there? Come on, bring it on. And then my
Yeah.
biggest deal is like pushing people along that are just sitting around just going, oh, I can't do nothing. Nobody will let me do nothing. No, nigga,
Yeah.
yes, you can. Anyway, that's neither here nor there right now. But
Right. Wow. Yeah.
pardon.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. You get something. Okay, look. Here's the deal. Here's an analogy. I've known a lot of cool hip sisters, girls I've even dated that were okay. So they like, I don't care for them, but they like scary movies and all that shit. But they wouldn't go worship the guy on Saw for fuck's sake. Like they would the
Right.
Bible. But you got to take the Bible. It talks about. It really is anti-woman. That fucking book is. It sickens me. How it makes women
It's
look like these dumb
anti-feminine.
fucking
It's
people. You can just
anti-feminine.
yeah. It makes them look
Anti-feminine.
stupid.
Remember, let me tell you this: masculine and feminine are energies, and uh, male and female are genders, and that's the biggest thing that, believe it or not, the beliefs that has to be figured out in society. Masculine
Mm-hmm.
and feminine
Mm-hmm.
are energies.
Mm-hmm.
Male and female are genders, and they have to be differentiated in order for people to understand themselves. Like,
Perfect.
for instance,
Never heard it broke
I'm a
down that way.
female,
Perfect.
right? Word. Like, I'm a female, okay? But I have a lot of masculine energy. Okay. I exude
Yep.
it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if
Yep.
people look it up, all they have to do is do their own research, look it up, masculine and feminine energy, and you'll see that the masculine energy is the one that, um, is the one that is the nurturer, stay at home, intuitive, loving,
Yep. Yep.
whatever. And the
And we can
feminine
play both. Yeah.
was the, gung ho, go to work, take care of the family. That was actually it. The feminine was that. Hence the reason why most of the women have ran the country. They just hit it.
Yeah, but if they would have openly, we'd be about 100 years ahead of where we are now socially. And here's the deal, too. It's like you're right about what you're saying. It doesn't take away from the other. Like, look, man,
Right.
I'm the most feminine. Like when it comes to a relationship, the woman is the boss and all that shit. But that don't mean I'm a pussy. I mean, I got cred, man. I mean,
You
seriously,
know
from
what?
back in the
Here's
day.
the deal.
So,
That is old paradigm. So it's old bullshit that
yeah,
people have been
right,
issued to. They have been structured around. They have been made to believe that's the way life is or how it's supposed to be. No, sir. No, ma'am. Whatever. Absolutely not. It's supposed to be an equal give and exchange and a
right,
loving relationship of it doesn't matter what you look like, what you do, or whatever. Like I said, I'm a beautiful woman, and I know this.
right.
Okay. But I don't care about that. Okay. People have told me I've been with the ugliest men.
Oh, geez. Well, I
and, I,
don't feel so bad
and
about
I've
hitting on
always
you. I'm
told them, I'm like,
kidding.
I don't care. I don't care about it, because I was like, you can meet somebody and they don't look all that good, but then you start talking to them and you start, vibing with them, and then they don't look so ugly to you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange. Yeah.
I've never known an I've known some ugly people, but I mean,
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
said,
Oh God, I've known some hotties that are guys and girls that were like, and then you hear them talk for a second, and then it'll be one
yes,
thing.
I've
It'll
known
be
some
one
beautiful
fucking
women
thing. Yeah.
too that were like
You know,
drop dead gorgeous, and then they open their mouth and like, ooh.
well, and then sometimes they'll open their mouth and it's cool. But have you ever been around somebody? It's just one thing they say it, and it isn't even what they say. It's how they put it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you
The
miss it.
highest accord. Trust me, I do know that. And I've been one of those women too, and like I said, it took me a long time to get over that aspect of I'm not wanted, I'm not beautiful, why not me? I mean, I went through my whole life, because I was like, I'm the type of woman, I'll nurture you. Any men in my life, they my kings and they get dealt with. I mean, they're loved, they are taken care of, whatever. But I see these women that are they're beautiful, yes, but then they treat their men like shit, and they argue, or they nag, or
Mhm.
they're like materialistic, or they're like gimme, 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 or whatever. I never understood the whole aspect of why would you want to go to a woman that totally blah 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 you
Is
versus
this
a
a big
woman
sister
that
lecture? I feel a
it,
big sister lecture coming on.
that is the biggest thing I've always wondered. What I'm saying is, like, I was picked many times over a woman that just wasn't blah blah blah. But as you said, last time, you're like, you're just too much woman, Angelique, and I'm like,
Well,
I
all
didn't
you would have had to
realize
do
it
is
back
say
then.
the
I thought
word,
there was
though.
something wrong with me, but no, there wasn't anything wrong with me.
Fuck
It was
no.
because I was activating the men in my life within themselves, and as I was healing, unbeknownst to myself, I was exuding that into my relationships, and it was activating them as well, and it was pushing them away because I was going above them.
Yeah, but
And
you realize now how powerful you are. You could have just, if you really wanted to put yourself out, you could have grabbed them by the hand and said, you know what, fuck her, you're mine. You know, you could have really took, you could, I know, but you had that power. You could have, and you didn't know though. It,
here's the kicker. I don't think even if I knew, it doesn't matter. Everything happens for a reason, and everything that has happened within my life
right,
is
right.
has made me a better person, has made me a way stronger person, and whatever. And I appreciate and I validate every relationship that I've ever been in, because each relationship I've been in has I
Here.
waited till the last, before I ended a
Yeah.
relationship. I made sure I
Wow,
did
that would have been nice.
everything. I went through all aspects. I made sure there was nothing else that I could do before I ended the relationship.
Boy, it must be
I
a
made
school down here because I would have one time you did that to me. I would have been like, if it would you said this is fucking it, and looked at me, I would it would have been probably it for me to quit. But we get you. You sound like you were talking about me about why do these guys get in these relations? Well, we didn't know you fucking liked us for fuck's sake. But that's neither here nor there now. We didn't
right,
know.
and that yeah, and that's another thing. People are like so scared to like approach anybody or to say, "Hey, I like you," or whatever. You know, because that's the society. Society has built us up of a different structure. You know, um, and that's what I'm saying. Is like that's the whole point of people need to trust their intuition, their vibes,
Yeah.
their connection. Because when you meet somebody, your soul's gonna tell you if that's the whole point of meeting your a counterpart or a part of your soul tribe. You feel that gunk, that feeling right here, the butterfly effect. You feel it right here, okay? And then
Exactly.
when you're in front of somebody and you feel that that pull, boom, you've met one of your soulmates, if not a life partner or what have you. Okay. You know, I know that feeling because I've been gifted
Hmm.
with it a few times. Okay. I so have. And I will say as the day is long, anytime I feel that pull with somebody, I'm like, hey, you're part of my soul tribe.
Oh yeah,
That,
big time, big time. Me too, me too.
yeah,
Fuck me too. And
right.
I say it
And
second,
it
but I'm
doesn't,
careful. I'm like, yeah, I
like I
don't want
said,
them to think I'm some weirdo. But yeah, I say, look, I'm gonna just put it
we
like this.
all weirdos, and that's the whole point where people need to
I
stop
know.
looking on the outer and look on the
But
inner.
I'm a
As
freak.
within, so without.
I'm a
It's like,
weirdo.
I thought about that for a long time. I was thinking, oh, as within, so without. So it's like I understand that I'm beautiful inside. Well, there you go. Okay. I'm only bringing out what I feel inside. And that's what the whole point of the universe, if you will. Okay. You can only see what you see because that's the way we were built, known, structured, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But if you look directly through the tunnel, no tunnel vision, but see the light, if you will. And if it's no
Hmm.
train coming towards you, you see yourself going towards that light and going, okay, well, that's me. That's beauty. The light is beauty.
Yeah, you
Whether
better
it's
recognize if there's a train coming at you or not. But that's a side note. Go
there you
ahead.
go. That I'm saying you will know. But regardless of the fact, people, as soon as they meet people, judgment is so rampant. Okay, and it shouldn't be. Do not judge lest ye be judged. And that's going to come up big time nowadays. Let me promise you. Hi, how are you? Anyway, so like I said, and that's going to come up rampant a lot. Okay.
I'm good. I'm good, dude. I'm fucking terrible. It was a late night last night, fucking with my dad and I, and then I was online and shit. I haven't even showered yet. I look like hell. But look, what you're saying is what you're saying though is so true and so dead on. That I actually now I've lost my train of thought, but I had something intelligent I wanted to say about that. Oh, judgment. Hold on, real quick. Judgment, right? When I don't want to use the word in this case, but here's when you can have some judgment is when you don't have any judgment, but you've been around the block a time or two. I always say is that like if you were having to deal and look into a situation, you already know like 80% of it because you know what humans could do.
Yes.
You've been there before. You know all what
Yes.
would make them do that, right? So you understand. And that takes away
Yes, I
because you're not
do.
sitting there like, oh, that motherfucker, I would never do that. I would always do this. Well, nobody nevers or always is. Maybe when it comes to hurting kids or the elder, you never, but you don't never or you always, well, I
Well,
would never. Yeah.
I've also been accused of like I'm too pretty for a person I'm with, or they're like, how did you get somebody like that? Because I've never really
Okay.
looked at myself like that. Like I said, everybody sees me differently than I do. Of course, I see
Sure.
myself now, but before it was like, people see me in a totally different aspect
Yeah, yeah,
and how I thought and whatever. People did not know me. Okay, that's the biggest deal. I was like, I might be this, this, and this. I was like, but you don't know me. You don't know my morals. You don't know my values. You don't know my core beliefs. You don't know anything unless you sit down and talk to me and know. Okay,
yeah.
so you can't judge anything on that. I was like, I can be with the most ugliest person in the world and I'm the most beautiful. So what? Big deal.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes that does help, and then sometimes, it's like the chili pepper said, if you have to ask, you'll never know. I mean, but we can't look at it that way. People, if you sit down and explain, and maybe 1 out of 10 gets it, you've done your job.
I've always said I've always said that when you meet somebody, you'll know. You'll know if you're going to sleep with them or whatever. And I'm definitely at that point where like I said, I can't be with anybody unless I have a legit emotional connection with them. I can't lay down and just like fuck. I can't.
Either because
I
I'm
can't.
spiritually above that. Yeah, I can't either.
Yes.
I couldn't get it up, first of all. And
I
secondly,
I've
yeah,
I've
I
been
just
I've
couldn't
been
do it,
too
man.
much far in my
Mm.
journey.
But I
I
miss
would
the
be it would be a
companionship, though.
disgrace for me to have a one night stand, you
Yeah,
know?
me too. See, here's the kicker, though, right? Like Angelique, right? I agree. But I miss that companionship of just like hanging
Oh,
out,
yes.
talking, or maybe even most
Mhm.
intimate scenario, we have a hug and a snuggle, and that's it. But the fuck thing, I can't do
Mhm.
because it's gotten to the point where like it's not only that I don't necessarily I know that, but I don't remember. I don't have those kind of really thoughts anymore. And I know that sounds weird. Like maybe I had to get my testosterone tested, but no, it's fine. That level's fine. But I
Well, the
just
thing
don't.
the
It's got
thing
to be
about it is
something,
like,
dude. Never
it
understood
doesn't matter.
prostitution.
Well, and pardon me for interrupting you, but I understand where you're coming from. Um, one of the biggest things that activates our DNA is the human touch. And one of the hugest things that has been taken away from our society is that.
Yeah.
The act of loving, the act of knowing what love is, the act of feeling it, knowing it, uh, exuding it, being it, whatever. Okay, that's what's been taken out. And that let me go back to the methamphetamine thing too, the drug thing. Okay,
Oh, you mean how you
that
can
was
screw
one.
them out all night long? Oh, never mind. Go ahead. Never mind.
It all goes hand in hand. Okay, because it's one of those you either love it, hate it, you can't serve two masters, blah blah blah, yakety smackery. You can put a lot of connotation on it, but regardless of the fact, it desensitized people. Like I said, one of the biggest things, one of some of my clients or patients or my people that I help heal, one of the biggest things is most of them are coming up on their 45s, 50s, my age, and they want to actually be loved. They had a lifetime full of drugs and fast women and dot dot dot, fill in the
Yeah, I'm
blanks.
one of those. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, right.
and then of course porn came into the aspect, and you know uh,
My
and they
God, bro, call the police. Go
yes.
ahead.
So, yeah, like I said, there were so many structures built into it. Now, they're coming into, whoa, I'm this day old and I don't know how to love. I don't know how to get a hard dick, pardon my French, but it is a thing.
Yeah,
Because
you're
all
talking to
because they're
Tina, but yeah, I know.
desensitized to porn. They don't know how to make love. They don't,
Um,
and that's one of the biggest things with
never.
erectile dysfunction is because the testosterone has been given away. The
Well,
power
Tina,
has
you
been.
can't blame me. I'm a Pleiadian. For fuck's sake, what did you expect me to do?
Well, regardless of the situation, like I said, it all comes to situations of um, being earthbound and having to deal with what they have, what the government put upon them. That's all I can say about that. And that's what I'm trying to heal or trying to help heal is that structure of the love DNA. Okay.
Yeah.
It's redefine the template for love. Okay. Cause you can't know love until you know hate. Well, now that we know both of them, can we all start with the wisdom now? The wisdom is like, okay, uh, we've been so desensitized to bullshit. So why can't we all try to help each other instead of judge each other? Why can't we go,
I
oh,
don't know.
like I said, I can go on and on about the whole drug thing, and I don't give a fuck if anybody wants to call me this,
Yeah,
that, and the
they
other thing.
don't.
I don't
The
give a
thing,
fuck.
but meth, here's the thing too. I got to educate people a little. Meth has changed. It's fentanyl now, basically a lot of it. But that old stuff, yeah, you could have sex all night, and it gave you sexual thoughts. Like I think that's how like an
There you
ascended
go.
being.
It
Yeah,
restructured
ascended
the
being.
whole brain waves.
Yeah,
It so
and
did.
what we would always say is, the one problem with that meth is if you're not conscious. Dude, I'm not. Please, people, I'm not fucking advocating going and getting a bag. Don't now, especially now. You don't need to. You fuck it. But back in the day, if you weren't ascended enough in the mind, that shit would fuck you up bad because you couldn't handle that kind of shit coming in. But if you were a star like us, dude, it was a little bit different back then. I don't know. I mean, I know, but it's hard for me to put into words too. Yeah, yeah, I can't believe I'm going there with that. But yeah, I mean, it
Sorry,
is.
I totally was like trying to figure
Did
out
you
what
hear
I'm
what
doing
I just wanted to make sure you heard what I was going to say. I was like,
here. Yeah.
meth is different now, and I wouldn't advocate anybody going out and getting any. That's not what I'm saying. But back in the day, like the sexualness that
I
it made you feel and shit, like it really took you to a level where you would be as an ascended being without the attachments of a physical, like problem body weighing you down, and without that closed mindedness because of a culture that you've
yes,
been brought up in. And you get what I'm saying. I know I'm
right,
speaking in a roundabout way, but man, that's about the best way I can articulate it. And that's about it, girl.
right.
That's about it.
And you're right. Like I said, I could go on and on about that. I've studied. Um, I'm book smart beyond. Okay, and I'm street smart, straight up. um, and then now that I'm learning the spirit, you know, that's the threefold. That's the power of three: spirit, mind, and body. Okay, and when you have all that wisdom put together, then you'll understand what it means to um know you're loved, know where you come from, okay? And until different aspects are taken care of or differentiated in the brain, then the DNA structure for our races will never be activated. And that's my
Yeah.
whole point with what I do. Holla. I try to activate with whatever I can. Okay, that's why I talk so much because I know whatever word I say, whatever thing I do, blah blah blah, it's still going to trigger somebody
Yeah.
regardless.
Like
It's
me,
still
man.
going to trigger here, and whatever triggers triggered,
Oh,
uh,
what is the
the
triggered is I'm
structure's
triggered. I
going to
need to
go.
shave and shower. Ugh.
Huh?
Yeah. Oh, what triggered means I need to shave and shower. My dad, he never stays up late, but it was New Year's and we were up all night, like pretty much all into the
And
night
you're
listening
wearing
to shit.
orange. Why are you wearing orange? You
Why?
look like you're in jail.
I know. I should go change my shirt. I know, but I need to get in the shower. Dude, we were up like till like 7 a.m. And he don't ever fucking stay up past 7. He went to bed at 7:30 last night. Then he gets up about 9:30 and he's up all night.
Oh, I have.
He bought some whiskey. He hasn't done that in a long time. He was drinking that, and then
Who's that?
um,
Your dad?
yeah, yeah, right. And then we were listening to old songs and singing them together. It was a weird
Did your
time.
dad and mom? Didn't you just tell me your dad and mom just now got back together? Or
Yeah, after they were separated from 1979 to 80, about it there till 2023.
is this your real dad or your stepdad?
Yeah, no. It's my dad. It's my old man. His wife
Okay,
died. His wife died a few months before that he was with for 40 years.
interesting.
Yo, I know, and though, dude,
You know
it's
what?
weird you can't write this shit, but hey, man,
I'm gonna
I
tell
would
you this right. I'm gonna tell
I
you
would have
this right
loved for
now,
them to
and
get back
you're
together
probably
then,
gonna
but now
be.
I'm like,
I'm gonna tell you why that happened. Okay, if you probably don't already know your damn self,
I
but
will shut my mouth. You flow.
okay. Um, so your parents coming back together is kind of like the joining back of the twin that your mom lost when she was pregnant with you. Um, it's kind of like a karma thing, if you will. Um, that's all I gotta say about that.
No, well, but sure as hell ain't all you had to say when we were off there, when you thought we were on there, man. I mean, you really laid it down. You know what, people? She described me, and like, I'm an only child, but I raised myself. If you can believe that, I was spoiled, but I raised myself. So materially, like, I had pretty much everything I needed. But dude, they worked all the time at night, and then they were divorced. I'd go over to Dad, see him on the shit. He was off 2 days, so I'd see him more than my mom. But then again, I'd see my mom almost every night because I would bitch and complain if I didn't get my nachos brought to me. She was working on getting her degree, and finishing up her degree and going. She was a juvenile probation officer.
Asshole.
Yeah. Well, no, but I know. But you know what? She smoked some dope on my 18th birthday in front of them, which was the weirdest scenario ever. And she told one
Oh
of
my
them, who was
God.
one of her clients, she's
I'm so
all
glad
set.
none of my kids do drugs.
Yeah, mine neither. But but what I'm saying,
They
I was
don't
open
drink or
minded
well, my
about it
son
though.
smokes, but regardless, you
Mine
know,
don't do shit. Mine don't do
when
shit, and I would have been surprised. I
you know
wouldn't
what,
have been surprised, but yeah.
I was happy, drinking was the biggest thing that my kids dealt with me, I mean, I've been
Well,
through all addictions or whatever, but, you know, alcohol was the biggest thing that, especially my oldest child, she's been through everything with me. Like I said, she's my fiercest warrior, my highest warrior, but none of them drink or smoke cigarettes, and I think as far as I'm concerned, or any as society is concerned, if you wanna look at
mm-hmm.
levels of, teaching the next generation to do better, I think I did a
Yep.
motherfucking fantastic
Me
motherfucking
too.
job.
Me too.
If
By
none
the
of my
same
kids
method.
drink
Yeah.
alcohol
Yeah.
or smoke well, my son smokes, but regardless of the fact, he's my
Right. Right.
youngest, but regardless of the fact, like I said, I think I accomplished a lot
Well, it
in that
sounds like you
structure
went
because
the same method.
those are the legal
Yeah,
ones.
but it sounds like you used the same method I did in a roundabout ways. They learned what not to do.
Okay. Word, and that's what I'm saying. It's about being a template or a mentor or a a conditioning for your children, regardless of the fact, and I apologize. As a matter of fact, like I said, I've been going through quite the ordeal in the past, since Christmas. Um, just another purging, if you will. Um, and I totally felt the need, with my son, what he's going through, and his family. He has a son. He's barely 3 months old, um, and his girlfriend, and like I said, the situation's very complicated, and it's not even what I had pictured would happen for my children, because I was like, the whole reason why I went through all this structure and all this healing within myself, and healing shit that hasn't been healed in years, you know, ancestral lineage cleanage. That's what I call it. Okay, that's what I've been doing. Ancestral lineage cleanage. I did not imagine my son would have to deal with what he's dealing with right now, and it's so heartbreaking. But number one, I had to realize his soul is the one that signed up for this whole aspect. Okay, the way it's happening. Number two, nigga's lucky that I'm here to help him go through all this. You see? And I'm trying to get him to understand that, but I can't, because, like I said, he was gifted to me as the highest award. He was my true Jesus baby. I was never supposed to have Hunter. And when I found out I was pregnant with my son, I was like, oh, dear God, mm-mm. Abortion was my first thought. I didn't want him, okay? Because I had already had my whole life planned without another child in it. And then the thought of having another kid by another guy that would make 3 children by 3 different guys, I didn't it was
Yeah.
terrible.
I had
The
to get over that. I
emotions,
used to have a
the
judgment
aspects I
about that,
went
but go
through when
ahead.
I found out I was pregnant with my son,
Hmm.
it was it was terrible. And now in hindsight, now that he's 20 years old and everything I've been through, I'm realizing, "Oh my god, everything that I thought of or did when I was pregnant with my child affected him to this day."
Yeah.
And when that hit me, I was like, "Oh my god," and of course, my son, I told him a long time ago, we've talked many times, I've told him things over the time, and I told him about, my first thought was I did not want him, I wanted to have an abortion. I
Mhm.
did not wanna raise another kid by myself, okay? That was my thing, and I was like, "Nope, nope, Lord, I can't, nope, so don't
I
wanna."
can't go through it one more time. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah,
Right, so
exactly.
I
Yeah.
did not even think about that aspect being encoded into him. And as my son's going through all this, and that hit me like a ton of bricks, as my son's doing this, that, and the other thing, and I'm like, and I apologized to him the other night. I went up to him and I said, "Son," I was like, "I apologize. I
Hmm.
apologize that I was not healed within myself before I had you. I apologize that everything that I was trying to do in my life, I was like, I just apologized to my son." And he's 20
Yeah.
years old. And I
Right,
said,
exactly. I
yeah,
gotta admit something on here. We talked about judgment earlier. Here's the one
yeah,
last thing I had judgment about, but I didn't have judgment against the person. But I was like, because of the kids, I was thinking about the kids here. I was like, what, man? What are these? The deal with having multiple baby mama or baby daddy? This is how bad I was, Angelique. Like when I post pictures of my kid, because the girl we adopted at 5 months old, my daughter, she is she's part Hispanic, part African American, and some Irish, and you can tell she's dark. And I say, hey, people, don't freak out. My kids, they all
mhm.
have the same baby mama and baby daddy. My little girl was adopted,
She
and
was a
so
soul. She's actually the
yeah.
soul of one of your mom's twins that she lost.
Well, I never heard that. Okay, wow. Well, okay.
Yes, that's why you adopted her. Remember, your soul family will always find you. And your mom she had a miscarriage you didn't know about. I don't know if she knows that, but whatever. Like I said, she's one of us, the beings, but she was also a higher being that her DNA got coated with, you know, bogged down, if you will. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, well, yeah, she was meant to be in your life. She's a part of your soul tribe, your daughter. Hmm.
Yeah, and she's a
So
Syrian
she's
too,
your
man.
sister and
Yeah,
daughter all at the same time.
yeah. I feel that. I mean,
Word.
she just graduated from college, but I felt like she was a
Good for
Syrian, and
her.
we would do these meditations. This one with the Syrians and Palladians. The Syrians would come in with this weird voice, and she could understand what they were saying, but I couldn't. And so, but
Mhm.
she has to kind of. She doesn't really go there. It reminded me when you mentioned your daughter, and I was telling you all that shit. I was getting off your daughter, and you were like, "Yeah, but you got to understand, she's not necessarily awakened like we are." And that's my daughter, right? They already know, but they don't want to hear a lot about this alien shit or anything like that. Or,
Yeah, my daughter's
right?
master
Yeah,
number 11. Okay,
right.
that's how powerful my child is, or how powerful her daddy's a number 33, and I'm a 7. My life path 7, but I'm also 888. My whole structure of my DNA is 7888, which is 888 is Christ consciousness.
Yeah, that was
So
my phone number growing up. Yeah,
yeah, those are they're very it's uncommon. Okay, I've only heard of, one other person having it. I'm sure there's other people out there, surely
right,
there is.
right.
And I'd show you the tattoo on my back, but I'm not gonna bend around and do that.
Yeah, I
But
know, and mainly it's probably because you don't want to fucking hassle with getting up and doing it. If you could snap your finger and show it, you would, but you're not going to fuck around.
yeah, but it's on my
It
back, but
already,
I have my numbers. But when
yeah, it
I found
already.
out, because you have 5 core numbers, if you know numerology, okay, you have your life path number, your birth number, your destiny, and anyway, so there's 5 core numbers, okay? That's what makes up your core of your DNA, your name, your birth date. And like I said, it's very unique if you ever know numerology. So,
There's only
and I didn't
four
know
in there.
shit when I started my spiritual journey. That was one of the first things I decided to try. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here when I was activated.
You have to, though, with numerology, Wicca, or things like that, man, or reading. You get somebody who's dynamite at it, and they can tell you every fucking thing that's going to happen to you and everything that has almost. But man, there's a lot of wannabes and people that get into that kind of shit because
That's why I don't have a
it's
platform.
romanticized. And I tell a lot of
That's
these ladies that lead the Wicca groups, I'm like, yeah, you do realize, and they do, that some of these people are coming into it for a
I know.
glamorous situation. Yeah, you got to be
Yeah,
careful
and
with that
that's what
shit.
I'm
You hit
saying.
it
It's like,
hard or not at all.
like, I didn't even like I said, I went through every aspect trying to find my niche, and what have you, and then when I realized that, I was just gonna go with I was just gonna go with the flow, and I read cards myself, and oracle cards, but I don't have a platform. I don't have, like, 20 million decks. I don't have any of that. I have 2 decks that I'm down to, and I hardly read cards anymore because I'm so intuitive and I channel. So the only time I really use, um
Bingo.
yeah, the only time I ever use cards is if somebody, wants me to, because it's for pomp and circumstance, and they wanna
Right,
see
right,
the
right.
whole layout. Yeah,
Yeah,
but like I said, and like I said, I only channel to people that God sends to me, honestly. I mean,
absolutely.
every person I run into, yeah, I give them a message or what have you. But like I said, I'm a Reiki healer, and
Yeah.
I go and I do QHAT, even though I'm not certified and I really want to, but I don't have the money right now. But I'm just doing my own thing right now because when I do
Yeah,
have the money to take the course, which is the book work, you have to take the money for that. I'll already be ready. I already done my own work.
Could be a
Just
degree. Could be a degree. They shouldn't charge you. But like, here's the thing: up in
you
the
have to have
ascendant.
in order to get certified,
Yeah.
you have to do the book work, which that's the only thing I
Right.
need the money for. I can do everything else by myself, just the
Well,
way I did Reiki healing and stuff like that.
it, it,
You had to take the
in
courses online, but
yeah,
as far as doing
too
the
much minutia.
hands-on work, I did that all myself. All my
Well,
friends
the
were my
thing
guinea
is,
pigs.
yeah, and this is what the Pleiadians have told me that in ascended Earth-like planets, they already know all the fucking basic scholastic shit. But you go to school to do this stuff, but it's not like where you
Mhm,
can't afford it. You go to school to get a degree in this shit, to be a goddess, to be numerology,
mhm,
Reiki, all that shit, to be a master, to beginner. You go to
yeah.
college for it and really learn it on their level. I mean, they already do
Oh,
telepathy,
yeah.
but they learn another form of it. They do telekinesis on their level. All that
Oh
shit
my
is taught
god.
and you specialize in
See
those things. And you have to be a
I went
PhD to be a goddess, basically.
right, and I have 2 degrees myself. I went to college, and what have you, but I mean, and yes, that knowledge takes me over to blah blah blah, but I didn't have those degrees to w
Yeah, you
do
would
anything
there
with what
though.
I'm
They
doing
would there
now.
though. Yeah, they would there though. They would tailor it to what you do, and because of what you've done, you'd
Mhm.
have that degree. You get what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like I know fucking medical out there. I know way better, and I promise you, I put me up against me and 8 doctors standing in front of somebody, trying to diagnose somebody laying in the bed. I guarantee you, I would be way better than them.
I know at the same time, you know that the
Promise
society
you.
you live in, and yeah, right. And at the same time, though, you know the society and the environment you live in, and you know not to be cocky about it, but you know what I mean. You'd be a double major up in the Pleiades.
Right, and also, like I said, it's like any of my people that I've healed or whatever, and I tell them straight up, I was like, and I've had quite a few people that I've healed, and I've even had, they were like, "Well, how did you start healing?" One of my people that passed away, he was on the list for a liver transplant. He had hepatitis C, and what have you, and he was a heroin addict. And like I said, my biggest thing is to help people off drugs and whatever. Well, anyway, so he came to live with me and I healed him. Well, anyway, so his second to last visit that he did, his doctor was like, "Why are your liver enzymes getting better?" He wanted to
Yeah,
know.
right, right.
He was like, "What's going on here?"
I'd be cautious. I'd be cautious just as a disclaimer, though. But unless you're on that level and you're that confident about it, don't just assume. Like you know it. You're not reaching to think these things, right? You know what I mean. You're not going, well. Gee, I that could be it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he knew what it was, and of course, he was just he couldn't explain it. He couldn't, you know, and it was like you can't explain it to anybody, unless they have known what universal healing is.
Mm-hmm.
Love, basically. Usually, if you just love somebody and show them who they truly are, damn, that starts healing.
Yeah, and
Love is
have a little
healing.
right. Oh, it's
It's a
contagious.
vibration. It's a unconditional love is a vibration of the highest motherfucking accord. I don't give a fuck who you are. That's
No,
what
yeah.
it's our birthright as
Yeah.
humans.
Fuck, totally, totally. And this isn't coming from you. I mean, this isn't coming from some fucking new age weirdo who's never been around. We're new age weirdos that have been around. We know this shit. And love is a high vibration. When you show love, if you can put it this way, you're my friend, or I know you. You know what you're going to have to do to get me out of your life forever and not think about. You'd have to hurt one of my family. Something unspeakable. I ain't even going to mention. But if
I
you had a
understand that,
problem,
absolutely, yeah.
if you have a
Yeah,
problem because it's your problem, your addiction, you're sick,
mhm.
dude, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you, and I'm not an idiot either. At the same
Well,
time, I'm not.
here's my
But
deal. Here's my
yeah,
deal.
I'm with you
Yes,
till the end, man.
our world's been full of addictions, but you know what? Loving and understanding and everything can be an addiction too. They just have to try it
Well,
more
I'm
than
getting.
once.
I know that, and it can be something they call this. They like to call that shit fucking codependency. Okay, and lump it up into that. But and it's not that simple. No, I totally know what you're saying. I'm
Yeah.
just saying for me to not to.
They cannot take this or that when it comes to
Yeah.
addictions because, being loved and being a positive vibration and being happy can be an addiction too. They just have to do it more than once. Same with drugs.
Oh, I know, but hey, but God, I know, but God damn it, Angelique, God forbid, how did you ever want to escape reality? You're such a sinner. You got high once. What'd you want to do? Did you want to see what it was like? What were you thinking to want to escape reality for a second?
Right, that's the whole reason why they
I mean,
did that. That's
I
the
mean,
whole
my
reason
God,
why
all the police.
they fucked with our fucking hormones and shit like
Oh
that
yeah,
with drugs, because they fucked with our serotonin, our dopamine, and our
I know.
melatonin
Yeah, and they
and our
wondered why we wanted to get
DMT.
high. Yeah, and they wondered
Yeah,
why we wanted to get high back in the day.
right, because, we wasn't getting love, so we're gonna connect to our ancestors because we know we was loved there.
Yeah, no fucking. Yeah, exactly. And oh yeah, we were not gonna look at something and go,
Like, if you're not gonna love me on the earth plane, I'm gonna go up to the other plane and be loved.
or it could have never have been the case where hey, we just fuck whatever we want to try it and see whatever.
Well, like
Yeah.
I said, that was the whole point of people are, them, whoever them is,
Oh yeah, them that
they
separatus. Yeah,
turned everything around because, they didn't want us to succeed. They didn't want earthlings or humanity to succeed. But
not
regardless
unless.
of the fact, it does not matter what anybody says, it was still a promise and a covenant.
Yep.
It was it doesn't matter if it would came after the seeding of the humanoids, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. It was a covenant of Mother Gaia.
That you have
Okay.
those certain inalienable rights. And the thing is, right? Oh, yeah, they didn't want to see you succeed unless you were willing to walk lockstep with them in every thought that they ever had and do exactly what they want you to do every step of the way. Then, hey, you might have an in.
Earth was created by a consciousness. Okay. Earth was created. It was seeded by a consciousness of Source Creator, which was the creator of our universe, the Milky Way. Okay. Then here's us, a little Milky Way, and then there's dot 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 dot. Okay,
Yeah.
which nobody knows past it. Some people don't or don't understand it, but it's beyond that, you know? And um
Oh, yeah, we're the
now that
new kids on the block.
those structures are coming into us, which is, pretty much the bands of the energy coming in and going because Earth ascended. We've gone up in vibration. Our density has dropped. Like
Sure.
right now, we are in a way new Earth.
That
Okay,
last
like there's
shift really kicked us in, man. That last shift helped us to fucking upgrade to feel the vibration. Because if you don't have upgrades like that and you go into that vibration, shit will be like fucking. You can't. The vibration is so loud. It's not. Imagine the loudest sound you could never hear. That's a high vibration.
tinnitus.
Yeah. What do you think about tinnitus? Yeah. Well, what do you think about
That's exactly what tinnitus is. Anybody that's ever had
exactly?
tinnitus, they
Yeah.
hear the constant ringing in their ears. It's
Hmm.
because they're that close to the vibration of the Schumann resonance of the earth, that they're like pretty much right there. They're like, and tinnitus is basically you got your pineal gland, okay, which is the little pineapple shaped little structure in the back of your brain.
Hmm.
Okay, right, like right here, okay, and it's connected to the divine, okay, and it's a pineapple, and that's where your hormones are, um,
Hmm.
and is what it is like, basically, it has not tetrahedron, blah, rhodohedron crystals. Okay, that's
Yeah,
what our
that's more called
brain,
like that.
our pineal gland, and it vibrates. Okay, it vibrates with whatever, but if you are not in tune or balanced on both sides of your hemispheres, then it's going to ring constantly because you're sending out that vibration.
Yeah, and some poor souls that have it don't even realize what's going on. It's one thing to know
Yes.
about what we know about, but then there's people having it that are fucking way
It's like, how do I put it? It's
on
like
another planet.
it's like pinging a bell, like bong.
Hmm.
And that person who has the tinnitus is just happens to be that first bong.
Yeah, but some of the tones are different. Some of these tones, like when the Pleiadians have contact, when they've
Oh
needed to
yeah.
make that initial contact, you hear a soft, and then it's gone. But
Do you
some of
know
this
that
stuff,
we're each a tone?
yeah, yeah, and I'll let you go. But what you're talking about is that constant. That is right. That's that imbalance that you're talking about. That
Mhm.
imbalance
Yes.
between the two.
That's what tinnitus is. It's the imbalance because the tone, that they're hearing did not have a structure to adhere to yet. They did not have a way to stop the tone. It just went.
And it would explain the ones that really don't know what's going on that are having that go on. That would explain that
Or
totally.
well, how I seen it, this is how I seen it when it first came to me, was when I heard the gong in my head or whatever, I seen it spread out and then come back in, and then when it tried to go back in, it or come back out, it didn't have anywhere to go, so it reverberated, like echoed off of itself.
Hmm.
Okay, so that to
Very
me told me
resonating.
that it was coming in upon itself and going, hello, 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 which was coming back on
Yeah.
itself, but it didn't have nowhere else to structure it, no
Yeah. Yeah.
branch to go from, nowhere to you see what I'm saying on that?
Oh, fuck,
And
do I? Yeah. Oh, wow. Yep.
yeah, and then because not enough people were not enough 144 DNA
Mm-hmm.
structures were activated to go, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I feel your vibration. I'm going to catch on to it and go over
Yeah, that
here. You know,
144 was initially, though. There's fucking 10 million star seeds on the goddamn social media, and that's just what we look. That's just what we know. Look, and I'm not an idiot. There are a million out there. There are millions that aren't probably that are into this shit that don't go
well,
online.
let me tell
Don't
you
do that.
something
But
too
there's
about the
millions.
144,000. It is not a people. It is a
No, it's a number.
vibration.
It's 12. It's a 12 bunch of bullshit. It's a 144 bunch of bullshit. I've talked about
It's a
this before.
vibration.
Yeah. Right,
It's a
right, and it means a lot of different shit too.
and
When
a
you break it down
frequency.
after the yeah, and if you
That's
want to
exactly what I
spoil
was
it,
talking about with the
yeah,
144,000. It's a
yeah.
vibration and a frequency. And if you're DNA
Mhm.
coded with that structure of what it actually means, then you will understand uh, what the 144,000 mean, because there's, like I said, everybody has their own idea of it, and there's many
Mhm.
definitions of it, but the basic definition of it is a vibration. If you have the code in your DNA structure and it vibrates, then boom. There you
That
go.
that would be the dictionary, 3 or 4 line description of it, right? But then you go down from there, and it's really, if you want to get technical, not that it matters, it's a 12, 12, 12, a bunch of dimensions, universe, everything together, making that.
That's the same as
And
your
yeah,
Merkaba. Your
yeah, yeah,
Merkaba has
exactly.
dimensions, and in order
Yeah,
to know
yeah,
how
it
to
does
spin
it.
it correctly, in order to you have to know
Oh,
the dimensions of your own self. And it says in the Bible, a man will be measured by um, that's what the man's number was, 666. Okay, well, 666 was the structure of how do you put it? Uh, uh, a closed. N- I can't even pronounce it right. It's so I have it within me, but I can't even do it. Okay, so
telepathy.
yeah, you dumb it down to 333 or whatever, or
I know,
999.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Earth
like I said,
moons.
you switch it around and what have you. That's the whole thing of Merkaba going,
Every
and
way, and I talk
and
about
it's
that. Everything in your body. Can you imagine, just on a layman's term, every single one of your body parts going in another dimension, going this way, that way, all at
oh
once,
god,
coming
yeah.
together? Yeah, that's kind of a Merkaba, man. That's how you create your own star, yo.
Right, right, and that's our Palladian light ship, our alien ship out. And I tell
Yeah,
people when I show people in the sky, when because mine hangs out here in the sky, and I'm like, look, there's my Merkaba, and it goes and it flashes all these colors. And I
yeah,
said,
yeah. It's true, true
I was
story.
like, is what it does. I was like, see, I am a holographic image, and I was like, I'm a, I was like, I that beams me in. I was like, my light ship beams me down here. That's how I'm able to be here in this structure on planet Earth
You
as a
should go tell a
human.
bunch of normal. You should go. What you just told me. You should go and tell a bunch of normal people, so it's senior citizens that have never been around the block, that,
Oh,
and do it with a
I've
do it with
mentioned
a
it a
Valley
few
Girl
times where
accent.
like, what?
Yeah, yeah. You should go do it with a Valley Girl accent. And say like, yeah, that's my light ship up there, and like
I've been here for
it's like,
20 years. Don't you think I've already done that?
I know. Do you ever felt like it afterwards? Yeah, I bet they thought what they thought of you. You wouldn't want to know. Don't ask, Angelique. But
Like I
some
said,
things are best.
I've impacted a lot of people here, whether
Yeah,
they know it or not, whether they'll admit it or
right.
not. I have. And like I said, I didn't even find out about it until, like 4 years ago, probably. And when I realized what it was, I'm like, that makes sense because I am a rainbow covenant, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
what have you. And I was like, all it is like as within, so
Oh,
without, and you have to be in touch with your soul inside in order to connect. Oh, excuse me. You have to be in, you have to get in touch with your soul in order for it to be
yeah.
um, beamed out. and
You
for
have
the
to be in touch
physical.
with the
That's
creational
the
source
spirit.
flow of all that is. Yeah, the
Yeah.
creational source flow of all that is. It just consciously goes. That's what I
Right,
call us.
and
Yeah.
that's what holographic image is. That's what holographic imagery or kinetics or what have you, and that's, your Pleiadian light ship. I'm like, "Well, I couldn't bring my ship down here, so I had to
Yeah.
leave it in the sky," and then I was like, "See that? All those colors?" I was like, "They're beaming me in."
You were
They're like,
careful.
"Beam me inside."
You were careful about who you told this to, weren't you? You didn't walk up to people on the street and just say,
No, because, number 1, as I'm learning things, I would
yeah.
just not go and be like, "Hey, look, it's an alien ship."
Oh,
No,
I did.
this is,
Well,
like, things over time, that I've
mhm.
told people, and I've pointed them out in the sky because 'cause I'm not the only one, and there's been way more, especially in my sky. We've actually had, and dare I say, our
In the
whole town's
Midwest.
been structured. We've had so many fog, storms, and what have you to cover up the help that is here upon our town.
Well, and you know what? If you can see it there, look, I live in the Pacific Northwest. You go from Shasta, Oregon, Washington, British
Yes.
Columbia up there. Fuck, dude, it's Pleiadian country all the way up here. And it's been,
Right, well,
yeah,
like I said,
it's
the only
common.
reason why they hear now is because of me, and I will take that, at the highest accord. I know for a fact. Um, and, it says in the Bible, "Save my land," "Save us," well, this is what you call manifestation, okay? People have been upon the Bible for years and years and years, many centuries, many
Oh,
moons, okay? They say Jesus is coming in the clouds and blah, blah, blah. Well,
of
guess
course
what?
he
They're
is.
manifesting that now, even though it's not actually it's an energy. Well, guess what? That
Yeah.
energy is coming in, but it's coming in a way they don't understand.
No, that's the
They don't
problem.
understand
That's
aliens and
frustrating.
yeah, they don't understand that it's aliens, not
And
God,
I don't get
you
that.
know?
And you know what? And hon, you know what? I don't get that. I don't get why they don't. Why wouldn't you think, just if you didn't know shit about anything, why wouldn't you think that probably there's a there's people from other planets, which you would call aliens, but they're human like us, most of them, some of them different looking, of course. But why wouldn't you just automatically think that? I mean, that'd be like me telling you, hey, I don't know what the closest town is to you, Angelique, but what if I came up to you and said, hey, you know what, Angelique, I drove over there the other day and they're humans like us there. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, people are so close-minded, especially where I live, and I've always said my town is like the bottom of the barrel as where they did, like, they they took all the shit and went at the bottom, okay? And, and they're so disillusioned around here, and it's a small town,
And it's in
um
the Midwest. Yeah, yeah. In that,
yeah,
that part of the Midwest where
like
you're
I
at.
said,
Hey,
like I
no
said, I could
judgment,
go
but come
on and
on.
on about how I've been here in this town and helped
Oh
heal
my
it.
God.
I wasn't
God
put here
love
for
you.
happenstance. I was here for a reason,
God love
and
you. God bless you, sister. Bless you. My God, for taking this mission so I didn't have to there. Bless you.
but regardless of the fact, like I said, I'm just now starting to pinpoint, some people that, number 1, deserve it, that are just, like, holier than thou, and then they're like, "Oh, I
Hmm.
prayed for you today," and da da
Of
da
course.
da, and I'm like, "Well," like I said, dot, dot, dot. I mean, I don't even wanna go
Yeah.
to even any either which one because
No, no,
each
no.
person is different of who I minister to or who I channel to, whatever.
Hmm.
But regardless of the fact, like I said, a community picks its shaman. A community picks its medicine people. And, I've had people even, as a matter of fact, come up to me unbeknownst, trying to act like they didn't want a word or whatever. And, I know they're for a word and I give it to them. Like say for instance,
Yeah.
I was at a tree dump. I was helping my friend Paul. We were unloading a whole bunch of brush, and this guy comes up, and he only had like a handful of leaves, and he just went, you could tell it was just stupid. He was just trying to be there. Well, anyway,
Oh, that's
so
funny. That's good. Oh,
we
yeah, that would
started.
be.
Yeah, I know, I do. The energy instantly hit me. It was like, okay, we'll see how this rolls. Anyway, so somebody had to cut down this huge tree, and it was still alive when they cut it. And we were talking about how there were these huge things and blah blah blah. And we were just talking. Well, anyway, so I looked down and I seen this piece of bark. Okay. And then I picked up the bark and I looked at it and I went, okay. And then I went over to the fella and I said, and I handed it to him. And I said, the answer to your question is in the bark. And I handed it to him and he said, I don't believe in that. And he dropped it. And I was like, okay, but I know later on he probably went back and got it because that was what he was there for. But in his mind, you know, he was expecting, like, me to whip out my Bible and give a message, which I've done before too.
No, please. I
But,
would have been
you
like,
know, when
please,
somebody
David.
comes to me and I the energy that I get with for them, I'm gonna give it into the way they need it, not the way they want
Right.
it.
Yeah, I know, and that's
And
not always the. Yeah, sometimes they need that, and sometimes they're expecting just the genericness of it. You know.
yes, and that was the whole biggest deal was he wasn't expecting me to just whip out a piece of bark and tell him that the answer to his question was in it. I mean, that threw him for a loop. I'm pretty sure of it, you know, and like I said, you know, these are people that, you know, go to church and, you know, they go to the cult, I call it. And, you know, they have to adhere to a certain level. But like I said, you know, these people are coming to the end of their rope too and going, okay, well, God ain't showing up. Okay. Ain't nothing happening for me. And I've been on this prayer wheel for many, many moons.
No,
That's
my
what I'm saying. I was
condolences,
like, they
sister.
know
Yeah,
something different. They know something different when there's a message given and it might not be taken okay at the first time, but then later on it's going, "Oh, we call those epiphanies. We call those, oh,
yeah.
the light
And
going
some
on."
people have them. Yeah,
Whatever.
some people have them. It's just an initially, right? When you're talking about initially, they've never been used to having it put that way to them on a real.
Yes, and
So
that's what I'm
yeah.
saying. I've been here for 20 years, so you just do your math of what I've been doing. And not only that, you know, I mean, yes, I've been here for 20 years, but my most work has been done in the past 7 years. You know, since I bought my own home and I was able to, really, dive deeper into myself because I didn't have to worry about paying rent or a mortgage, you know, I paid cash for my home. So, I own my own home,
Oh,
and,
really? Good.
uh
What kind of good? What kind of goods were you selling in the past that enabled you to rack up that to do that? No, I'm kidding.
none your business, no.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
is what happened is, um, I broke my ankle, and would you stop it? Darkfish. Anyway, so, um, I broke my ankle 8 years
Yep.
ago, and
Congratulations.
actually almost 9 years ago. Let's see, 20, yeah, almost 9 years ago. Um, and I broke it in 3 different places, and I broke it at one of the trailers here in town, and
Oh,
it was a guy, he was a slumlord, and, he still is to this day, and I busted out both the
oh,
slumlords
bless
here.
his heart.
Anyway, so, he was, it was at a trailer where they were elderly and they needed their steps fixed, okay? Anyway, so I'd gone over there, I lived across the way, and I walked over there to show her a piece of glass that my son had, you know, we had pulled out of my arm from an accident I was in a year before. It was one of my near death experiences, as a matter of fact. And I survived, but a piece of glass had wedged into my arm. Well, it wedged so far deep in my arm, it took a year for it to finally come to the surface. And then I showed my son how to, um, you know, lance open the skin and to pull it out and to stitch it back up. Well, anyway, I had the piece of glass and I wanted to go show my neighbor so I walked over there. Anyway, so when I was coming out of her house, I knew her steps were bad and I was counting the steps because they were really wide apart and they were real wobbly. And so as I was counting the steps, going down, I wound up missing a step. And
Mm-hmm.
I wound up coming down on the concrete with all my weight on my
Yeah.
right fucking ankle, and the worst sound in the whole wide world you'll ever hear is your bone motherfucking breaking,
No, it's
and I
true.
heard
It's
it go,
true. I got it. Yeah,
yeah,
it's true.
and mind you, I did not drink milk growing up. I had hardly
Yeah.
any calcium, so my bones were, I mean, they were strong, but not. So anyway, it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, I broke the hardest bone to break in your body, the tibia.
Yeah, it's fucked up. I broke my tibia and fibia tripping over a black lad. The bathroom, he was laying, I loved it, but he was laying there. I didn't see his ass, and I tripped over him, and I stayed in bed for a couple of days, called in sick to work, and I thought I just had sprained my ankle, but man, I couldn't. I had to have buddies come over and take me to the hospital. I'm like, dude, I can't stand on this motherfucker. And they're like, dude, it's broke. And
Well,
the doctor said it was
that's
the
the way
worst
mine
break
was.
ever. Mhm.
There was no gray area. There was no
Yeah,
even trying to get up and look. You could see the bone sticking out of my leg. And I called him to my son, and I was unusually calm. And I was like, "Son, call the ambulance." He's like, "Why?" I was like, "I broke my ankle or broke my
yeah,
leg." He's like, "Nuh-uh." I was like, "Yep." I
yeah,
showed
yeah. And you're
him,
not
and he went,
driving
"Oh
me.
my
Yeah.
God." Yeah, so he's seen it, and yeah, and from then on, it was May 19th. of 2016 that it happened, and the doctor, it took him 18 hours to have my surgery. They took X-rays, and they were
You
like, "You
got to be
totally
kidding me,
shattered it." They had
really?
to rebuild my ball joint.
Oh, okay.
I had 2 8-inch screws on the left side, and
Mm-hmm.
a metal plate on the right side with 10 screws in that. Yeah, and I was down for a long time. Anyway, so long story short, um, basically, um, I didn't even think about suing the guy in the beginning. I had no idea that that was even, it had no part of my brain.
Now we're getting
But
to
then when
about
the
to ask
doctor
people.
told me that I probably would never be able to, nurse again, which I was a nurse at the time, that was my career. That's what I went to school for, was a
Oh,
nurse.
fuck, I've been oh, are you serious? My soon to
Yes,
be my
yes,
ex-wife. Yeah, I
right.
can't get again, I can't get away from you nurses. You nurses, fuck,
Well,
my
I'm a
best friend.
doctor though.
Oh,
Nurses are
yeah.
better than doctors, but I'm also
Oh,
a
I know.
doctor. But
Nurses are the
regardless of
best.
the fact, I mean, that was my career, and the doctor was like, "You ain't gonna be able to, stand on your feet for 18 hours or 16 hours or whatever." He's like, "You're not gonna be able to do what you did," and I was like, it devastated me. I got super
Mm,
depressed because I had no idea what I was gonna do because that was my career, you know, and so I went into this deep depression, and I'm pretty sure I died like 4 times. I didn't know it back then, but I did. I overdosed a couple times on Xanax and pain pills. I had nobody to monitor
mhm,
me. Yeah,
right.
the guy I was with was a super dick. Um, but regardless of the fact, like I said, everything happens for a reason. So when I found out about that, I decided that I was gonna sue him because I was like, "There goes my career."
Mhm.
I didn't know what I was gonna do,
Yeah,
you
I know,
know?
you're totally justified. You're totally fucking justified, man. You
Right.
gotta
So
survive, dude. People get
let
real.
me tell you, as soon as I decided to call my lawyer, and like I said, and this is before my spiritual journey I was officially activated. This was before. This was right before, um, about a year. This all happened within a year of my activation of, like, "Go girl," you know? I'd been activated, but this was my full dot,
Mhm.
dot, dot.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as it took less than a year from the time of the accident for me to sign the papers. May 22nd was when May 22nd of 2017 is when I signed my papers for my house.
Wow, this is kinda interesting. This all kinda boy, this all kinda adds up.
May 19th of 2016 was my accident, and then May 22nd of 2017, a year later, is when I signed the papers for
Mm,
$75,000 is what I got for breaking my ankle because he was negligent.
okay.
He was a slumlord, and he
Mm,
had several
mhm.
orders to fix the steps, and he did not.
Yeah, and that fucked up. These people look at what it would have saved him to fix those motherfuckers. How
I
much would have
know.
that it would have cost
Right,
him?
and
What do you think? Tell me what it
right.
would have cost him to really fix
I
them?
got
Nothing.
$75,000 from that accident. I mean,
Mm.
altogether, I got 50,000 for
Oh, the
my
truth
own,
is
and then,
revealed.
whatever. But regardless of the fact, I didn't care. I did not care how much I
Mm.
got out of that whole, situation. I knew for a fact, if it took every penny that I got from that, lawsuit, I was gonna buy a home with
Yeah,
cash
well, I guess
because
that
I
kills my
knew.
theory that this was the big agenda you were hiding, how you bought the home. But I mean, you're not. I was going to be like, this is how she bought the home.
Shut up. That's what you get for thinking.
You know.
But anyway, so regardless of the fact, and like I said, everything just kind of lined up perfectly. And this is how I know spirit just lines your journey up for you. Okay. And like I said, as soon as I knew I was getting my settlement, I went house hunting. And I didn't go very far. I went to one house, which is
Is
the
that all
one
it
I'm
took,
in right
really? Yeah,
now.
that seems to be the case a lot of the time with, yeah, I can resonate with that, man. Yeah,
Which happens to
spirit
be the
kind of
house that
takes
I'm
you.
in right, yeah, and it was just like, boom, and I seen it, and it just had gotten on the market. It actually went on the market, the 5th of May, okay, and I signed the papers for my house on, it was actually it was the 31st of May when I signed
Right.
for my house. Yeah. So, within
I bet it was
everything.
around Memorial Day weekend then. God, I'm a
It
genius.
was, it was.
Wow.
Actually, it was
How'd I
before
know
then,
that?
but it was before then, but regardless of the fact, like I said, everything happened so fast. My closing, me finding a house. Okay, here it went. me signing my papers for my check, and me finding a house, and me closing on my house was all
Mm-hmm.
within 2 weeks.
Yeah, being that wow, that it's amazing, and I'd be
Barely,
stressing it. Yeah, were you
barely.
stressing it? Were you stressing it before it happened? Like, fuck, how long is this going to take? What's going to take? What's
Nope.
going to happen? No, I would have
Nope,
been. That
because
would have
as
been
soon as I called them and have
neurotic.
and what have you, and said I wanted it, and as soon as, because the original asking price was 24,900, and then when we saw it and what have you, and then I thought about it, and then I said, "Will you take 16,900 for it?" And when they accepted my offer, I knew it was meant
Right
for
then.
me.
Yeah, their reaction. Yeah, you knew you when they said it. Probably the way they said it too, huh?
Yeah, because I asked them, I was like, "Well, can I?" Because you can, whatever. But that was the asking price for my home. But then I gave them the offer of 16,900, and they accepted it. It took them less than 24 hours to accept it too. My realtor came right back and they said they'll take it. And then from the time they took, like I said, it was barely 2 weeks that all this happened. The closing, the signing of the
Yeah.
check, the looking for, like I said, it all happened. Boom, 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 boom. Now you tell me where in the world has that ever happened?
No, it don't. And another thing you were
All
blessed with,
because I was paying cash. I didn't have
yeah,
no mortgage. I did everything.
right. No,
I put 2,000 in escrow for my property taxes, and remind you, I didn't know anything about buying a house. All I knew
yeah,
is that
you
I
didn't
was
know about it.
paying cash
You didn't
for my
probably even know what an
very own
escrow was,
home.
did you? Yeah, you probably
Yes,
didn't even know what an escrow was. And this is another thing where you're blessed at.
barely.
I fuck with you about the region you're from, but the housing market is probably fairly reasonable there compared to most of the United States is getting or has been. So you were in the right spot where you needed to be at the right time to get it, to get a
Absolutely.
home. Yeah.
Everything
Otherwise,
telling me, like I
yeah.
said, you can't convince me otherwise now, and I don't give a fuck
Fuck
what anybody
no.
says. I was meant to be here. I
Yeah,
was
you
meant
were.
to do what I
Yeah.
did. The energies that I've exuded, the energies that I've healed
Oh, bless
from,
you.
the everything that I've done here, yeah, I don't give a fuck. I was meant to be here, and it's on. It's happening.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. Bless you. I just got to say, bless you for agreeing to it. Bless you for being stationed there. I'm
No, it
glad
was
you're
no
making the most of
agreement.
it.
There was no agreement. It was divinely guided, and it
That,
was just done that way. And like I said, everything is orchestrated. Everything is put into place. And like I said, if it was not, um, things doing this, that, and the other thing, uh, like I said, if I would have not have started my spiritual journey, it
hmm
probably would have gone on to the next person. But,
Well,
but
Why didn't you stay assigned in Oklahoma then, huh? Why'd you move? Too
because
much
I
for
got
you.
pregnant with my son.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, exactly though.
I didn't
Yeah,
tell you that part. I would lived
yeah.
in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yes, both my girls were born in Oklahoma, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Bless
But
them.
I bet Hunter's dad, he was going to college in Tulsa at Tulsa Welding School, and we met when he was going to college, when he was 21 and I was
Are you in
22,
Tulsa?
20.
Okay. If you were going to have to be somewhere there, Tulsa's not okay. Tulsa's pretty cool. I've heard actually from some
Born and
homeboys. It's
raised,
really cool.
born
Yeah.
and raised.
So yeah, but like there's Tulsa and there's Oklahoma City and there's the rest of Oklahoma. You get what I'm saying? I'm sure you get what I'm
Right,
saying.
right. Well, I'm from Tulsa, but regardless of the fact, yeah, that's the only reason why I was here in Kansas. How I came up here because I got pregnant with my son, the one I was not supposed to have. Yep.
Did you ever look at, because you were right there, did you ever look at Texas at all as a place to maybe go? Did it ever cross your mind ever?
Of course it did. And I've actually had
Yeah.
a few dealings with Texas. My father, which I was telling you about earlier, um, he lived in Austin, Texas when he had his accident. Um,
Yeah, and
and this
stop.
is
That's
how
the only place you could live. Hold on, stop that. And that'd be the place to go would be Austin. Okay, if you have an open mind. Yep. And you had to
Well,
go to Texas.
yeah, he lived in Austin. He was homeless. He was a vagrant, a bum. He was a brittle alcoholic too. And my dad had been out of my life for 19 years and blah blah blah. But he lived in a thing down off the highway off of 35 there as you're coming off into Austin, one of
Mm-hmm.
the highways.
Yeah.
And he lived off the highway. But anyway, so he was really drunk one night and he went to go light his Coleman camp stove and he pushed the button too many times and went to go light it and it flash fired on him
Oh
and
God.
burned it, and
That's
he
the
burned
man.
his
That's fucked
legs.
up. Ouch.
He burned his legs bad.
He's
Anyway,
lucky. That's
so
all.
Well, he died several times, but since I needed to have my daddy in my life and I manifested it, he came back alive. I'm just gonna be straight up. Anyway, so regardless of the fact, he sat there he said he laid there for 2 days, and then he crawled up. It was about 100 feet from his campsite to the top of the highway, and he crawled and he pulled himself up there until he could flag somebody down, and then
Yeah.
that's when they called my grandparents, which was, my grandma was his mom, and they raised me, and they called my because they were like, "You're gonna die. We need to know who your next of kin is. You're not gonna survive." And he's like, "I don't have any." He's like, "We need to know." And he finally gave him my grandparents' number, which they've had the same number my whole life. 785. Oh, sorry. Anyway,
Beach 45789. Here we go.
4375064.
Yeah,
That's
eight
an
six
old
seven
number.
five three zero nine.
Those are some numbers you remember your whole life. Anyway, so regardless, they called my grandparents, and that was the first time they'd seen my dad or heard about my dad too. Okay. So when that happened, my grandmother calls me immediately, and I just gotten off work and just took a fucking pain pill, was relaxing, and the phone rings. It's like
Of
1:30
course,
in the
that's when it
morning.
always happens, isn't it?
I know, I looked over and I see Reverend R.Z. Smith, I'm like, "Oh gosh, who died?" That's my
Yeah.
first thought because my grandpa's a reverend,
Oh my God, I'm
and when
stoned.
I
I don't
answered
need
the
to
phone,
sit
my
down.
grandma was on the phone, and she's hysterical, and she's going, "Blah, blah," and she has this whole story of my dad being in a fire, and he's burnt, and she didn't know the whole story or the whole situation at the time, but she's beside herself because this is her son. This is, you know, he hadn't been heard from or nobody's heard from him in years and years. And then all of a sudden, boom, you know. So we all gather up, even my mom, my aunt, my cousins, my uncle, my grandma, my grandpa, me and my mom, we all loaded up and drove to San Antonio, Texas that same night. It took us 12 hours to get there from Tulsa to San Antonio. And he was at the Fort Sam Houston Burn Center, and that was the first
Mm-hmm.
time I met my dad after 19 years. His legs were burnt. They had him
Oh,
hopped up on morphine. So the first time I see my dad after 19 years, he was 3 when I left. And so the first time I see my father, and he knew who I was, and he knew who my mom was, and what have you. But of course, it didn't really set in with him until, whatever. But I had to be the one to sign the papers to amputate his legs.
both
They
of
had
them. Oh wow.
Yes, yes, there was no gray area. They were saying he would die if they didn't, and they were gone. They were like crispy critters.
Oh yeah.
And I seen them. I did. Um, and and since I was his next of kin because I was his daughter, I had to sign the papers to have for him to have the surgery. And that was like, to me, that was like such a life and death aspect that I had to deal with, that, in hindsight, I'm like, I wish I wouldn't even have fucking signed the papers. And I mean that of the highest of court because my dad totally threw me under the bus, and that's just a whole nother ball of wax because, it was so stupid, because like okay, my dad signed the papers, he went to recovery, blah, blah, blah. And long story short, I took care of my dad. And I got him an apartment right in front of mine. I lived in Catoosa at the time, and he lived in the apartment right in front of me, and I lived right behind him. And I was able to, my kids went up to his back window and talked to him. That's how close we lived. Okay. And he would roll his wheelchair up there, and I would take care of him. Well, anyway, so like I said, he was a Vietnam vet and what have you. And eh, eh, long story short, uh, he found out that there was a liquor store up around the way from our apartments, and
Sunny, fast
I wouldn't buy
tropical.
him any alcohol because I wasn't drinking at the time. I was not a drinker at that time whatsoever. I was married to my first husband and what have you, and he hated my first husband. He tried to run him over with his wheelchair several times. Anyway, regardless, but anyway, so but but he would go and buy alcohol and what have you, and I mean, like I said, anyway, so it got to the point where he was spending so much money where he didn't have enough money to pay his bills, okay, and I was the one that went shopping for him, and what have you, and I had no reason whatsoever to I was accused of embezzling money from my own father, from my aunt who raised me.
Oh,
Okay.
fuck. Fuck all
Yeah.
that.
And yeah, he totally threw me under the bus about that. He didn't even say he didn't even speak up and say it wasn't me. He didn't even say it was him that or the neighbor that lived right across from him that he would talk
Mm,
into go getting some. He didn't even say that, he just was silent, and he just let
mm,
my
that
just
would
let
have been
them
a
believe
hard
that, and
one.
that pissed and let me tell you something, my aunt was all like, "I'm gonna turn you in for embezzlement." I was so butthurt to my core that everything and that I can imagine that you
I
can
don't blame
even
you.
begin, okay,
I
and
don't
this is
blame
from the
you. Yeah,
family that
hurtful.
my family who
Yeah.
raised
Oh
me,
god.
and I was ostracized instantly because he was the prodigal son.
Yeah. Well, that's Earthlings for you, girl.
Fuck him. And that's what I'm saying is like I didn't even care because uh in hindsight it was like, I didn't have to take anything from my dad because all I had to do was ask him and he gave it to me. So it was like I was like, "What?
Yeah,
That
but
don't
at the
make no
same time, he
sense to
zipped
me."
up. I know, and that was a frustrating. But at the same time, you're saying that he stayed silent about it. I know, isn't that the kicker of the whole thing?
Oh my god. It was like I guess it was like one of those stupid karma things, but not. Okay, it was just one of those things to once again keep me down or, not, raise me up to the
Yeah.
level I needed to be at, you know? I'll tell you what, it ostracized me from my family. Like I said, I didn't get to go to my grandparents' funeral, which hurt me to
Mm,
my core
I'm
more than
sorry. Yeah.
anything, okay?
Come
Um,
on.
like I said, that was a whole big old thing that, like I said, ah, cool. I'm over it now, but
The joys
even
of 3D
still,
life.
now I know the whole aspect of my whole childhood
Yeah.
now
Right.
because of that shit, of why it happened, but I don't wanna go there, my friend. And yes, my
Well, I
if
don't
I
really
showed you a
either.
picture of my family, you'd be like, "Oh my god, they're like
Yeah. I
draconian."
you oughta when you get a see we go up and live on another planet, you oughta work for the tourism bureau, go into 3D, you'd be great. Oh, this is what you get to experience. You get to yeah, all kinds of squabbling over nothing and head games
Yeah,
and wow, it sounds like a good
well
time to me. What a vacation.
well, like I said, I've lived a life. I've lived a couple of
Yeah.
lifetimes in one, and like I said, I ain't nobody got shit on me because, I've been through some shit, and, not only that, it was like, my mom, she ran away when she was 13 years old and changed her name, her birth date, her everything about herself. So my
Yeah.
mom is not like on my birth certificate is not the name on my birth certificate is not my real mom's name.
Well, who the hell is it?
It's my real mom, but I mean, it's
Oh,
not
under
the
an
name.
assumed
It was
name.
an
Yeah,
assumed
yeah, yeah,
name.
yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was an assumed name, and she was under this guise for her whole life, but she ran away from home. She was from New Jersey. And my grandfather was part of the mafia. He was in prison for
Mhm.
racketeering, so her stepmom
Mhm.
raised her, and her mom had given her up because she was 16 and had my mom, um, you know, my grandpa went a side fling, basically. Anyway,
Oh
so
yeah.
she had 2 stepbrothers who molested her, and her stepmom treated her like shit, and she
Oh,
ran away from home, and that's where she met my dad was on the boardwalk at Seaside Heights.
mhm.
Yep, and my dad took her under his wing, and he didn't know how old she was. Of course, she started this lie,
Mhm.
when she met my dad, so there you go. When she met my father, it was pinpointed, and especially when she got pregnant with my brother, then it was like signed, sealed, and delivered, and so from
Did
then
they have
on
a good life? Did they have a good life together?
no, my dad left when I was 3.
Oh fuck. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, my dad was out of my life for 19 years. My mom raised me, but so did my grandparents, which was my dad's parents.
Mhm.
So, and then my mother, she came down here and remember, my mom was 14, 15 when she had me and my brother.
Wonder how old she told your old man she was though, because girls can. I had one to try to run that
20
on me one time. I
on
think,
on my birth certificate, she
yeah.
was 21 when I was born.
Okay, and how old was she? Legal 15? Are we going to say 15
15.
probably in Earth terms?
Yes, me and my
Yeah.
brother are 14 months apart. He was born in May of 78,
She was
and
just
I was
looking
born
for a
in
way out, though,
79.
hon. She didn't mean to
Huh?
deceive your dad. She didn't mean to deceive your
No.
dad like that. She
No,
was
like
just
I
looking
said,
for a
it was
way
all
out. And
no, as
yeah.
soon as she met my father and she got pregnant with my brother, they moved to Jacksonville, Florida. My brother was born there. He went to a Beach Boys concert when he was 2 weeks old. And that's when they got a hold of my grandparents, and my grandparents flew them from there to Oklahoma. And then that's how it happened. Yep. from my mom
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, and it's
Mhm.
kind of screwed because on one end, he should have been told the truth, but she was older than she really was in Earth
He
terms. But
knew
if
he
she
well,
knew if
let me
she
tell you
told
this.
him,
Yes, and she told him the day that we seen him in the hospital with his burnt legs.
okay, well,
That was the
yeah,
day that she revealed to him. That was the day that she revealed to him that she was not the age and blah, 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 and it was very surreal, honestly. And remember my dad's hopped up on morphine, and he's
it
just
was the
meeting his
perfect
whole family
recipe,
again
though.
for the first time, and then my mom goes, "Oh, by the way, I was 15 years old, 14 years old when we got."
It was the perfect recipe, though, for that to happen at that time. Him being on that shit and him everything.
I tell
Yeah,
people, I was like, "Y'all don't understand the life that I live in. It's legit shit." Okay? I mean, this is stuff that they make for the movies, but this is all my life. And it was like I literally did not meet the other halves of my family until I met my parents for real.
what was that like? What was that like? Because I've always wondered. I mean,
Oh
but I
god.
don't.
Okay,
My mom
so
couldn't, and
when
my
I
dad. So
when my mom finally came out who she was, that was like a whole,
yeah. What the age? You
you
mean
know, like
that was all she came out with was the age? Are you telling me that when you said she come out, the only thing she came out with was that her
I
age was
was,
different?
let's see, my daughter, my oldest
What
child,
the?
she was 9 months old. So I was
Um,
17. I was
so it was a
17 when
big
this
fucking
happened.
deal how old she was. I mean, after all those years, it was a big deal how old the
It
age thing.
Well, it was the whole it doesn't matter about the age, the whole fact that my whole life was a lie. Her life was a lie.
Okay,
The
based
person
solely
on
on
my birth
that.
certificate was not the right person. That
Mm.
was a lie. That to me was such a deception that I went through, that it was so hardcore. Um, like I said, there's a forgiveness in there that nobody understands, that can be
Right,
given until you
so
get
you
it.
understand now, though. You understand that your
Oh
mom wasn't
gosh, no.
sitting there
Oh
wringing
gosh,
her
no.
fingers trying to set
Oh,
you up for, oh God,
beyond.
I'm gonna
Don't
tell
even
this
get that
lie.
twisted. Absolutely. Me and
Yeah,
my mom
yeah.
get along way better now than we ever did physically.
Right, but you know that she wasn't doing that at the time when she was young. See, man, I'm doing this to really screw some people over, and like,
No,
she was trying to
no,
get away from the
she had
bad
no choice.
scenario, girl.
She had no choice.
Yeah,
It was signed,
man.
sealed, and delivered. I'm pretty positive now that she had no intention of it being like it was in the beginning when she first met my father. She had
Of
broken her
course not.
leg,
Who does?
and she met my at the Whiskey Barrel. Actually, it's on the boardwalk at Seaside Heights where they filmed um, Jersey Shore.
Oh
I
yeah,
actually
so
got to go
let's
there. Yeah, that was the first time I went to the ocean. I got to go there, and me and my daughter got to see the ocean for the first time together. She was 9 months old and I was 17. So, um, and so, but regardless, like I said, that's a full circle thing right there. But regardless of the fact, I'm pretty positive that she did not know it was going to go from there, but it did. Regardless, we call that walking the path. And um,
well, isn't that
like I
life?
said,
Yeah.
now we get along way better now spiritually than we ever did physically, and I know of why that happened, if you will.
Sounds
Now
very cleansing. Sounds very cleansing. You know what I mean?
it
Cleansing.
was and has been, especially with that, and then with my father coming back. Like I said, all this shit happened like, you know, uh, blah. I even wanted to, before my mom passed away, I wanted to change her name on my birth certificate to her real name.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then I got to thinking about it, I'm like, I can't do that because, people, they would question when you
Yeah,
change your
it would be
mama's name
right.
on your
You
birth
wait. Yeah.
certificate.
Yeah.
They'll be like,
You weigh
why do you want to change it?
you weigh the options, and really, even if nobody were to know, I mean, the thing is, right? Why? All that was for a divine reason, right?
Right,
Unless,
and that's what I'm saying. I was like,
unless,
I know different, but here's the
yeah,
kicker. I
yeah,
actually just started, like, when I fill out paperwork, when they ask for my mom's name, I'll put her real name, and then I'll do AKA, the one on my birth certificate, because I have student loans in my mom's name.
no,
Because, when you
call
first
the
fill them
police.
out when you're a kid. Yeah, okay, so and like I said, I was like, if anybody tried to find me, it would probably be very difficult for them, so it all goes into this,
Hold on,
everything happens
what
for
was
a
your
reason.
address again? What was your state? I do this with all my guests. State your address and your full name and your.
8675309.
Yeah,
Eight
well, I
six.
got your number. Yeah, for a good time call. I get it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure.
I live in the land of Oz.
And you do totally, man. The yellow brick road, and you know what I found that was that
Mhm.
goddamn thing analogy. You know, they walked that whole goddamn road for nothing, or maybe they just needed to be together because none of them they already had what they wanted. I was looking for that $5 bill, and we went on that long fucking walk. You made me go on, and I already had it in my pocket. What the fuck?
What the hell are you talking about?
Oh, you know Oz. You know how they made that big walk in the land of Oz. They went down the yellow brick road, right, forever and
Oh,
ever, and trying to get what they wanted, and they already had it. The Tin Man already had a fucking heart. So
right, right. I know.
he
Yeah, I
walked
know
down
the
there
whole
for a
aspect.
plastic toy.
Yeah, the whole reason why that movie even came out was to pretty much uh, tell the public that the government was fucking them.
Yeah, I mean, they already had it. But he did get a plastic heart, though. I might have been gullible enough to go there. Hey, you got this cool plastic heart that flashes. You can go get. Like,
Right,
how
right.
much further is it to walk to get it? Yeah, I know. You know,
Well, regardless, I don't give a fuck because, like I said, I've been through too much in my life. I've been gang stalked. I've been this, that, and everything, and blah blah blah. And I've rose above a lot of shit. I don't give a
you're
fuck.
gonna bring up gang stalking. Are you? Gang stalking is something that, like, I don't really go there with conspiracy theories, but I know a couple people that have had it
I
happen,
don't
and
give a fuck. I didn't even know anything about it either
I
until
grilled these people. I grilled these people, and I grilled it because I'm not Alex fucking Jones. I grilled these people. I said, "Oh, really? How'd this happen? What this happen?"
okay,
And
yeah. So
I had to come to the conclusion. Listen, I had to come to the conclusion it is real. So I had to
yeah,
educate them on probably why that is that it goes on, who that it goes on. You have to fit a special mode to be targeted in gang stalking. You can't just be fucking anybody to have it. They'll fuck you in other ways. If you got certain family members, they're not going to get you unless you're a good target for them for that because there's
my
reasons
whole
they gang
life.
stalk. Yeah,
I found out,
there's
like
reasons
I
they
said,
do it, but
when I
most
found
people
out
aren't
about this
susceptible.
stupid shit, because remind you, when I was activated to a lot of shit, I was ignorant to a lot of shit. Okay.
Well,
That's
look where you
why I'm
found the source.
so pure in a lot of things because I had to learn it and I had to have the experiences of it, like the negative alien agendas and this, that, and everything and the
Yeah.
different um vibrations, whatever. I had no idea about none of that
Mm-hmm.
shit when my
Really.
spiritual journey came about me. I had no idea there was anything about this, that. I just was strictly Bible religion. That was
This
it.
is what I get.
Pentecostal.
This is what I get from a lot of people that are awakening. People like you that are far more like in what I consider ascended in mind than I am. See, because
Uh-huh.
of what I've done and been through, I already knew it. The only thing new to me was contacts with the Pleiadians directly. The other shit, I was already fully aware,
Yeah.
fully well aware of all that shit you're talking about. Well, and been involved in
Mhm.
it in ways I'm not going to talk about. But yeah, well aware of it.
Well, regardless of the fact, like I said, I had to go through all these instances and I had to experience them. And I didn't know from anything, this, that, and the other thing about any of this bullshit, and as I'm learning about it, as I'm experiencing it and whatever, and then I'm learning about divine protection and I'm learning about what have yous, and regardless of the fact, this is where most of my um learning came from. Most of my understanding
Mhm.
was learning unconditional love is like forgiving, uh, forgive them, God, they know not what they do,
Yeah.
and still, sending them on to learn something else, what have you. That's I had to go through those instances. I had to experience them, and it's cool. I did, but here's my
Yeah.
kicker.
You're
I
not
was
as
fine all
you're
that, and
abnormal as me.
I grew in my spirituality and my twin flame journey and blah blah blah. That's what I went through, have been going through. But when it started going over to my children, oh, hells to the fucking no, no, no. I said, no, I don't give a fuck who you is, where you come from, what agenda you got. I don't give a fuck. I was like, the whole reason why I did this within myself, in my heart, to heal my shit and blah, 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 is so my children do not have to go through this shit. That was my whole thing in the beginning. I didn't know anything about y'all. I didn't know anything about you. I didn't know anything about nothing. So I don't believe in that. So therefore, it does not affect me. And therefore, that's what I'm fighting for right now is the karma that's coming upon my children and they don't deserve it.
Yeah. Yeah, we all have our different
That-
journeys. It's like we're 80% alike, but
Right.
there's these 20% variances that make it all interesting. That's why I encourage everybody to tell their story. Like what you're saying,
Yeah.
yeah, totally right. You had to go through that, but your story, as far as how you had to come about it through your upbringing and shit, is not very uncommon. Like you even admitted,
Mhm.
you didn't know a lot about this shit, right?
Oh, I didn't know shit.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Nothing.
used to mock
I was
people like that.
ignorant, ignorant
Yeah,
until I
no,
was revealed it and I had to do my own research
now
and
you're
I
ahead of
really
me.
had to go. Like I said, most of my stuff was within. I mean, most of my knowing has come within. But of course, I've had to, access old Google. That's how they knew they were in trouble when I started using Google.
Well, you had to put in some work, man. I really just looked up a few shit, and it's like I already had known it because I had got to experience. It's one thing when you have to go through it and experience, and it's another thing when you have to go to work like you did to figure it all out once you were awakened,
Right.
right? You have to put in the work,
Yes.
and unfortunately, that's my thing. Is say, I'm sorry, I didn't choose for these motherfuckers to come contact me. At least, I mean, I did, but you know what I mean. I didn't in
None.
this
I had no
lifetime. I never
idea.
asked for it. Yeah,
I had
but I
no
never
idea
asked
that this
for it.
shit was going on. I had no
Yeah,
idea about illusions. I had no idea about timeline dimension hopping and pulling the wool. I had no idea about that. I was
right.
literally completely I was spiritually unawoke.
Well, let me ask you this: you don't watch the news and shit. This is what I get from a lot of people. Now,
Mm-mm.
let's go down a couple of vibrations. Now, were you aware? Like, okay, did you know that the government was fucked up? I mean, you know they're fucked up, but did you understand the
Oh God.
intricacies of who ran it? And a
I
lot of
mean,
people are
of course.
surprised that I've ran into motherfuckers who are awakened now, and probably more than I am now, who'll be like, "Man, I
Mhm.
was so surprised to find out that it was like that." And like I said, look, it's not as bad. I worked there. It's not as bad as you think it is, but it's worse than you can imagine. It's intricate. It's
Um,
not quite as simple as that, but it is fucked up.
I did not know as much as I do
Yeah,
now, but that's
right.
only because I didn't think about it, if you will. But like I said, my awakening and everything that I've had has come in bits and spurts and blah blah blah.
Right.
And basically it's like now all I have to do is it gives me a headache just thinking about it. All I have to do is see one news line and I'll tell you if it's fake or not, and I'll be able to say
Yeah.
ugh, and then I'll be able to go dot dot dot. That's
Mm.
why I don't watch the news. I don't watch television. It's televised vision, you know.
Yeah, they're
But
telling a vision. They're telling you their own story, their
yeah,
vision.
it's
That's
like
what they're telling you. I've gotten to the point, sweetie, where it's like, okay, I was there, what you're saying, and now I'm like, when I hear it, it's like, okay, I can't handle the vibration, but it's like I'm listening to something from another planet. They're speaking English, but I don't know what the fuck they're telling me.
word, word, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
what,
Like
what?
even the debate,
Hello?
I guarantee you they were beamed in.
Oh, totally, dude. Listen. These guys. Okay, this is the story. You check
Holographic.
these Harris, Trump. They're
And then
colleagues.
Biden,
They
he
know
was
each
he was
other.
just
Yo,
he
yeah.
was
They
Biden
got
was
that
an
motherfucker so
AI.
loaded. Oh, they got him so loaded. They put an AI in there and their AI didn't work very good. That was about a fuck.
Biden has been passed on for a long time. He's
Yeah,
been passed on since he pretty much came
and
into
he's not a
office.
bad man. You know what? He's not. He's actually put in the work his whole life, but they've had him as a robot since about 1978. You know what I mean? So, but
Oh well.
he could have
I was
been.
gonna
He was
say
he was from the Jimmy Carter ilk almost. He just was kind of a
yeah.
tweener. It was weird.
Well,
Yeah.
I know, and that's funny that you say that because the Mandela effects. You ever heard of The Mandela effects?
Have I heard about it? It's going to be one of the next. Look, okay, it's one of them things where I'm not
That's
conspiracy like Alex
that's
Jones.
what
But
Jimmy
listen,
Carter and Biden
I've had
were. They were a
I've had
Mandela effect, if you will.
totally. The '70s weren't even supposed to happen into our. It was a chance to go somewhere, but we didn't take it. Look, the Mandela effect. Do I believe in it? Yes, because I've had two instances
Oh
where,
God,
and it's
yeah.
just,
Who
honey,
doesn't?
it's just something subtle though. Listen, the two of them were this. Soundgarden had this hit song, and apparently it was
Black
1994
hole
with
sun.
yeah, but it wasn't to me. It was in 1992 to me because I heard it every night. That and Nothing But a G Thing by Dr. Dre were trading number one, number two for
I know that.
months.
I can sing
Uh,
that. Ain't nothing
y-
but a G
yeah,
thing.
yeah, but we had the station, the radio station back then. It had the top 10 at 10, and for 2 months it
Mm-hmm.
was those two
Casey
those two
Kasem.
songs flip flop. No, this was local, like at night. It played the top 10 songs in America or by local voters, and those two songs were flip flopping each other to one and two for 2 months. But how could that be? Because everything I've read now says that song didn't fucking come out till '94. And then
I
there's
heard
another
about
song
that.
with a rap song. Yeah, and there's another song with a rap song. A group called the Loonies did this song. Everybody knows I Got Five on it. Well, there was a song on that
I
same
got
fucking
five
CD.
on it.
Yeah,
That's
that
on my
CD had
playlist.
another song that nobody knows. I've even asked some dudes that are in the Black Panther Party that I know through media contacts, and they're like, "Dude, what the fuck? There's no song like that." But I swear I heard it
Word.
over and over again on this
Yeah,
song on the
there's a
CD, but
lot
it
of
didn't.
Mandela effects that people don't know
Totally,
about.
exactly,
Absolutely.
and a lot of it too, sweeties. They throw a lot of that shit out there, and they know that it won't affect anybody, but they know that it will get some of the shit will get some people like and it's kind of an
Yeah.
experiment. It's really just an experiment, is what they're doing
You're
with it.
right, it is, and it also it's the same
So,
thing as we were
so,
talking about with the vibration with the tinnitus and what have you. It's the same difference of the vibrations coming in and mixing and going.
Yeah,
and
perfect
mixing and
example.
passing through each other. That's the same difference. And that's something you can't help. It just goes, and that's the whole, how I seen it was, this is how God wanted it was, the infinity circle, the landscape. Okay. Do you know what it
Yeah,
sounds like? You know what it looks like, right? The
right.
lemon scape. Okay. Do you know what it sounds like?
I have an idea that
Um,
enlighten us. I have an idea.
listen.
Yeah, perpetually and
Um,
endlessly.
that is the sound of the universe is okay? That is the vibration of the first sound of whatever. Okay? Boom. All right. That's what the lemonscape is. Okay? So imagine it hitting in the middle, okay? And then it's crossing, okay? And then this time, this generation, if you will, this vibration, they hit it just exactly where it was this generation to versus this generation comes together, and they switched, and each one had the aspects to teach the other in the correct way to even it out, to balance of what they needed to. That's how I seen it. Hence the whole new effect of new Mandela effects, new ones, if that makes sense. Word. Are you okay? Well, that concludes our show for this evening. Thank you guys for joining us. This is the Larry Locken Show featuring Angelique Dorsey. Have a nice day. And free meals. I don't even know where the fuck that came from.